Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. We're back in the full session here.
Okay.
Frederick, there you are. Come on up and give us a report on the financial condition.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Frederick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. It is my pleasure to present the half-year results of the town. The last time I presented was for 5 months ended May 31, 2020. So this is basically 6 months. I'd like to start by looking at some of our major revenue items in our main fund, the A Fund. We have been monitoring the fines and forfeited bail, and I'm happy to say that for the first 6 months, we have actually accumulated up to 96% of our budget. If you remember last year, we had really some challenges due to COVID, but I think I'm happy to say we have bounced back. If we are looking at the average, it's about $37,000 per month.
But I would say that, and you recall, the board, we really kind of lowballed the number, not knowing what would happen this year. So I hope that that trend continues and gets us back more to the previous average before COVID hit.
Certainly. The next major revenue item is mortgage tax. We have been receiving these reports from the Dutchess County. June gross tax receipts, as you also was 126,000. If we average the first 6 months, it appears that we have gone up $4,000 because the last time I presented, the average was 90,000 per month. Now we are at 94,000 per month, based on the reports that we receive from the county. And so what I normally do, once I get the gross amount, I reduce it by the 8% because they usually send net about approximately 8% of what they report to us. So whatever they've reported for the first 6 months, it's about 92% is what we receive as the net revenues.
We've also, I think board members may have noticed in the report, seen the foreclosures tick up slightly. It's now at 3, based on the previous month numbers.
Yeah, there's only 38 in the county, so
Yeah.
3 is a small number.
Moving on is looking at the rental of real property. We have a little bit of challenges here. I think it's because of the way we budgeted for. We are at 38,000. But the main reason here is one of our major revenue items, that is the rent from the building across. We receive about 9,250 per month. But we just received their check this week. So in July, for May and June, actually it was for June and July, we just received about, for 2 months, about 18,000. So when I was doing this report, I did not include May and June in the first 6 months.
So if you normalize for the 2 months we were missing, May and June, are we at the 50% mark?
It's about 18,000, so that would be about add 20,000 to the 90. So that would be about 110, maybe about 40, 42, 45%, which is not bad because that's close enough to the budget. The other major revenue item is sales tax. If you all remember, what we did was we moved a significant portion of the operations, that is the parks, from the general fund A to the B fund, and we were able to leverage that using the sales tax revenues, which, as you remember, last year we were over by, in terms of growth, by about 1.3 million. We had budgeted about 1,094,000 for B and DB, that is per town and the highway, and we got the extra. So,
Any indication on how much we're going to get? I mean, they do what, December, January, February, then they're going to do March, April, May, so we should have got something in June,
yes,
right?
we were expecting
It's July already.
the report from March to April, May for the 3 months at the end of June, but for some reason they didn't send it yet. So I was unable to include those 3 months in this report. So that's why you see that the sales tax here is only at 10%, which is basically for the January and February. All right.
Because I
but-
thought we were running ahead of what our projected budget was for sales tax revenue. So just trying to get an idea, when you start talking about fund balance later on,
Yes.
how it impacts the fund balances.
Right. So based on on what we received in the past, even looking at 2020, we were way ahead of the game. So I have no reason to doubt that whatever we budgeted for in 2022 will not be achieved. If you have heard from the reports we have received so far in the past that there's been growth in the sales tax. So although we are guaranteed, the 1,094,000 for the agreement that we signed with the county, I have no doubt that by the end of the year we should be able to at least meet our budget based on the past.
Okay.
Looking on other items, building permits, we are at 51%, planning board fees and 70%. These are now the B fund revenue items. Safety inspection fees, this one we are already over 100%, by 19% more than, more than the budget. Zoning fees at 73%. So looking at the summary of the revenues, total A fund 80%, and this is majorly because we receive the real property taxes early on during the year, 100%. So that is a significant portion of our A fund revenues. In the B fund, as I explained, we have only reported 2 months of the sales tax, January, February. We were expecting from March, April, May, end of June, but we didn't get it yet, so we were not able to include it here. And the highway is at 84% because the major portion of the revenue is the real property tax, which we receive early during the year by February, March latest.
So one of the reasons why we're so high on the A fund revenue is because of property tax and
Yes.
mortgage tax, right?
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
85% of the total.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
And there are also other things here that I'll talk about later, like the state aid revenues. We are sure that we will get whatever we budgeted for. The amount has always been the same over the years, 266,900 in the A fund. Looking at the expenditures, more or less the same at this point in time, 44%, 46%, and 51%. Because we've just finished the first 6 months, sometimes it takes a little bit of time for you to receive all the bills, so that is why it may not be at least 50% by halfway. So we expect that as we move along, we'll be receiving additional bills for the maybe for June, May, and as you may have heard with the...
Do we have any outstanding bills? I know we've got a number from our consultants that haven't got all our bills in yet, that we're waiting to get the bills in. I'm just wondering how that's going to affect, the percentages and the dollar values we have here, and do we have an exposure?
Yes, we do have as of now, we have received up to March of most of the professionals' bills, so we have not received April, May, June are not in here. And the reasoning is that when we get the bills, we look at them, and sometimes we send them back to be adjusted based
More
on.
often than not, we're sending them back.
Yeah, yes. And because of that, it's a negotiation process, and there is a delay. When they're sent back, they're looked into, we come to an agreement. And some cases, we come to an agreement and then a new management comes in and then throws everything backwards.
So my
We start
concern is,
over
and
again.
we do this every year, usually in the third quarter, we do a transfer. And what I want to do is I want to limit the amount of transfers that we do if we start to go over certain line items, et cetera. So again, just watch this very carefully, make sure we're in line, make certain assumptions with some of the outstanding bills, but let's just make sure that we're not waiting till we get to the budget line and all of a sudden we're coming in last 3 months going, hey, by the way, you need a little more money here. So we should be looking at that right now.
I think, Al, that, we're almost daily basis, I think, as you're aware, we're looking at it.
I know you are on those.
And, also, we're pushing back strong. I think our, legal, is actually, good. And then CPL isn't too bad. It's one other.
Yeah.
And we've rejected, and in fact, we have totally rejected one rewrite. So I think that we're,
Okay.
other than that, we are, relatively in line with everything, although, I agree with you fully. We have to keep a further eye on this
Yeah.
very closely, which we are.
Isn't there a time frame that they're supposed to be in by?
Yes, and that's why we
But
rejected one.
are they meeting that?
No.
None of them
So-
are.
No,
Oh, well-
one in particular.
Can you give us a printout of who's been delinquent and by how much by month? Please. You can send it to the
Frederick, are
board,
these-
because I would like to know why they're so delinquent, and I appreciate being sent back.
Yeah.
But
Well,
at
I-
the same time, they shouldn't be this delinquent in sending
We
in their
agree.
bills.
We agree.
And if they are, then that has to be addressed by this board. So
Are these
Frederick, can you
actual
provide that?
expenditures or actual plus assumed?
These are actual expenditures
Okay.
year to date, yes, actual.
Perfect, thank
So
you.
we have not included the assumed.
Right.
Yeah, when he talks about fund balance.
Thank you,
you'll see
Frederick.
it.
Okay, now moving on to the next page, I'll skip the cash balances because those are actual cash balances. But the most important is the one on the following page, which is the projected fund balances. What happened here is that when I was doing the estimation, I was, I might say that because of what has been happening lately with the economy, the inflation, and so on, when I was estimating the expenditure, I used a much higher percentage than I would have otherwise. And then when I was estimating the revenues, I did not use the budget. I just used the actual amount. So I am going to redo these fund balances based on the need to compare apples to apples in terms of the estimation. So that is what I wanted to add. So instead of what you're seeing there should be much difference once we actually look at the budget vis-a-vis what we have received in both the revenue and expenditure. Because, like I said, when I was doing the estimation at half-year mark, even though I relied on the actual expenditure for the prior year, 2021, and added a percentage, when we look at the budget, it comes to a different thing altogether. So,
Can you give us an example of what you mean by it comes to a different?
yes, so for example, in the A fund, what I did was our budget is 4.4 million, and I just decided to add 15% because when I looked at last year, we had added about 11% based on the transfers that we were doing. So I said, okay, maybe 15% is not a bad number to use, and therefore added 662,000 on top of the budget, which brought my as expected or projected expenditure in the A fund from 4.4 to 5 million. Now, when I was looking at the revenue side, instead of doing that, starting with the budget, I did not. I simply took what was actual year to date and added, based on the mortgage tax average, I just decided to use the mortgage tax only of 94,000. I just added 6 times the average, which brought me to 871,000. And I completely even ignored things like the aid and incentive to municipalities from the state, because those have not been received. And we know we are going to receive it. So I should have started with the budget. What is the budget? And then subtract or minus. So that's what I mean here. Another example is the B fund. Instead of using the budget, when I look at what we spent last year, we were at 86%, and I just decided to use 100% this time around. And in terms of the revenue, we know that we are going to get the sales tax. I just assume that that will not, I did not take that into consideration. I just used the actual.
So it sounds like what you're saying is you covered, you think expenses, you've increased them by roughly
Yes, I really
15%,
went
but the
overboard
revenue
with-
side is
yeah.
probably not 100%
Yeah,
where it needs to be.
right,
So we're
yes.
probably a little bit low on the
Right,
revenue side.
yeah.
So the fund balance is probably a little bit higher than
Right.
what you've got here.
Yes.
Is that the net?
Yep.
Okay.
So at, next meeting, you'll be able to,
Right, yes.
Give us a
I'll be
greater
able to correct
clarification of
that.
that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just didn't want to.
because I think it's important as we go into the budget process
Yes.
in September.
Right.
That's
that
exactly
we
where I was
know
going with it.
exactly where we
Would be
are.
helpful.
Right,
So
right.
So
Yes.
it may be at that meeting, Frederick, which very likely could be much lighter, in agenda items, and you can walk us through it, a little bit more, closely in order to, give us more of that background.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
So that really brings me to the conclusion of that brief report. I would,
Okay.
if you have any other additional questions, that is.
And
that would be
Parkland
welcome.
Trust stayed exactly the same, it hasn't
Yes,
changed?
yes,
Still roughly 432,000?
yeah, around there.
Okay.
There's some-
Are there any other payments out of there that you've,
Well,
Reserves?
the only minor difference was there was a payment for clay for Robinson Lane that about 9,000 that I did not include, but we had to move from A fund into Parkland Trust.
right,
And also interest income on the account where the Parkland Trust monies are about $200 and change. It's
Okay.
not too much, yeah. So from the balance that I have is lower than what you see there by about 10,000,
okay.
yeah.
And have the reimbursements been made yet?
Yes, we have
With
we have
this-
received some reimbursements, but not all of them,
Okay,
yes.
okay, so then let us know next month as well,
Right.
what's outstanding on reimbursements or
Right.
other charges against.
Is there any money in there for Schuylkill Park at all? Do you know?
I would have to do an analysis.
Yeah, can
but
you
I
take
know
a
we have
look,
received
because we've got
reimbursements
that
and put
coming
them
up
back
soon,
in-
and we want to
in-
be able to
Yeah,
take a look at, what they can expend, because they're going to come to the
Right,
board.
Yep,
So if there's some additional money there that they've got it set aside, that's not part of, I think, what Randy recognized.
Right.
Just want to make sure we know what that amount is.
right.
yeah, and
Okay.
we had approved expenditures for that phase, 1A, with
Right.
respect to the additional equipment and so forth. That's been delayed to September, October.
Right.
So that money's, we had coming out of Parkland, or did we decide to go that was partly by the debt funding, right? We had decided,
Well,
Frederick?
there was 750 from the debt,
Debt, yeah.
Yeah.
a portion among 3 parks, but there was also money from the county.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then the Friends of Schuylkill had some money from the county, I think 20,000.
20,000
But they have to
the
come
grant.
to us and
Right.
discuss that as well.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions for Frederick?
No.
Okay, thank you, Frederick.
Thank you, Frederick.
Thanks, Frederick.
Thanks. Okay, Now I have a motion to open the public portion
Excuse me.
of the meeting for the discussion items and the resolutions for
So moved.
items 7 and 8.
Second.
Okay, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. So now it's public portion, so anybody that has comments on the agenda items or resolutions, please come up to the podium and identify yourself and raise your question or comment.
So you don't want to go first? Grace and I are having a debate about who's going first. Evening, everybody. My name is Barbara Gutzler, 5 Russet Lane. I am not here as a reporter for that intrepid underground newspaper, here as a resident. And the first thing I want to do, I know it's not on the agenda, but I want to express my thanks to Supervisor Thurston, Legislator Cavassini, for very promptly answering my email on the issue that a neighbor of mine had with a possible zoning ordinance violation by that person's neighbor, and for the advice that you gave to handle it. So I just want to thank you both very much for your very prompt responses over the weekend, no less. So, all right, I'd like to address Resolution 123, authorizing a contract to pressure wash the tennis courts. I looked at I don't see any attachments here regarding any scope of services or anything like that, any letter that was put out to solicit the bids, and I'm wondering if something like that is available. That's number one. Number two, it talks about pressure washing the courts, and I'd like to know the scope of work on that, because it's been, well, let's see. I came into this seat in August of 2011, and we have constantly put in money to Buildings and Grounds for purchasing equipment, and I'm kind of wondering why Buildings and Grounds doesn't have a pressure washer to do this job themselves, or any of the equipment. That's why I would like to know about the scope of services. Is it such that the in-house equipment that we have cannot do this work? One of the reasons that Buildings and Grounds was established was to do a lot of work in-house, and I'm wondering why $10,000 has to be allocated for a pressure washer. If I had known about this, I have a pressure washer at home and a bucket of Kills, and I need the money. I'm retired now, so I could have done this,
But-
unless there is something that I don't know. So I
Yeah.
hope that there will be a discussion
There will,
about the scope
later.
of that. Okay, fine. So I would just like to know if that information will be available. And then the second thing is, since every meeting I come, there always seems to be a request from Buildings and Grounds for more money, I'd like to know, again, and you can address this during the resolution there, it doesn't have to be answered to me right now, why work like this isn't included in the original budget? Is it not anticipated? Is it not part of regular maintenance of tennis courts? Things like that. Just some questions that I have, and I would appreciate it when the time comes if you could answer those questions for me.
Okay, thank
And again,
you.
as always, I do thank all of you for your service. I know the job is not easy, but I do appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Supervisor. And when we get to the discussions, item number 4, Mr. Frazier will discuss that, and also a couple of us on the board have our own experience with what has been happening there. But thank you for your comments. Any other comments?
Grace Martin. Haven't moved since the last time I talked to you. Mine was also on the pressure washing of the courts. I looked at the documentation. It just says tennis courts. You guys going to be doing the pickle courts too? I guess
Yes.
I'll wait till
Yes.
I hear
Yes.
that later.
Yes.
I knew they were
Yes.
done a few years ago.
And Al has his toothbrush all ready to
There
go
we
out
go.
there for your pickleball court.
I understand that it's cute to have some little bit of humor, but our tax dollars also go into the things that our senior citizens use. To senior citizens, if you go any time by Martz Fields, during the daytime, they are using the pickleball courts and they're using the tennis courts.
That's right.
So the other thing you all talk about is volunteers. Again, I don't have a problem doing that, and Barbara and I could pressure wash. I'm also retired, looking maybe for some extra bucks. But again, in not joking about it, these are services that I pay my taxes to, and I really wanted to be able to use these because I did not move into the Regency, where the Regency, at least for those residents in that facility, have their own pickleball courts. So I, like the youth, still like to use my parks. So that's why I'll wait forward to see what it talks. And thank you for bringing up Spook Hill Park, because that does still need some ongoing work. And I'm looking forward to playing basketball against there soon. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments on other agenda items? Good evening.
My name is Michael Fakuri. I own a piece of property on Tassone Court on Route 9. I know that one of the items on tonight's agenda was the water and sewer infrastructure grant application. I do want to say that if this does go through, I want to personally pressure wash the tennis courts for
But you have to do less than 10,000.
But I'm a resident of Dutchess County for the last 40 years. I'm an attorney in Wappingers as well. My office is right down the street from my building. My building consists of 3 two-family houses and a commercial building on Route 9. I'm in full favor of the water and sewer reaching to down Route 9 towards Stage Door property. I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's good for the town, obviously. I think it would improve the value of properties in our town. I think it's safer, it's cleaner, and I believe that it would only do us good in our town in Wappingers if this goes through. So I'm in full favor of it and want to keep it short. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Rob?
Robert Bykowski. I'm here tonight representing Contrail LLC, also Lou Paggiati Trust, the former Plant Depot site, Stage Door property with the 4 adjacent parcels totaling 7.5 acres and 720 feet along Route 9, as well as frontage on Stage Door and Old Route 9. As you're aware, we've been looking at this for many, many years. I have items in here dating back 2011, full designed, legwork, infrastructure, trying to figure out how to get sewer and water up in Route 9 to increase our ratables, to give us quality drinking water and protect us from sewage and discharge. We haven't been able to do it, and we haven't been able to do it because we've been following the rules and regulations put on to us by the state. What happens is, if people aren't aware, when you review the site, and you can see this one from 2011, color-coded. At that time, Morris Association had reviewed and done analysis on every type of leg, stretch, including some parcels, not others, to try to make the numbers work. And what happens is, when you do it, the numbers are so high that when it goes to the state for review to approve, they don't approve it because it would raise everyone's taxes too much. And I understand that. We can't have that. We have to make it affordable. So, to try to make that affordable, we brought in private groups to try to bring in development. What happens year after year after year, they fall on top of themselves. Funding dries up. You have a recession. We came close once when we were trying to follow the Patterson Transportation Corporation, and it didn't work. We have exhausted all efforts at this point in time, and I applaud the town for taking upon themselves to identify and, more importantly, go after. Get those grants. We need them. You know, unfortunately, there's only a few of us here tonight for, you know, COVID, summer vacations. This would be full if we publicize it. Not only the business people, but the town residents. They'd be out here. We know what's going on with different sewage packets not working, small, it's not cost effective. I'll just leave it at that.
And we have failing septic systems, failing wells
you
in
know,
that area.
It's funny that you say that, you know. I'm a PE, haven't practiced in a while, but lived in Dutchess County my whole life, 20 years in Wappingers. I know it like the back of my hand. If I was to pick out a spot in Dutchess County where I could say, oh, we don't need sewer or water there because the soils are good, you know, they're gravelly, they're sandy, no problem. The wells and water quality is strong and quality is strong. This is the worst spot not to have sewer. The soils aren't infiltrating. The wells, the quality stinks, they're deep. There's no quantity. It's the worst spot to have it. And it's also the gateway to our community from I-84
Exactly.
through the heart of a business corridor. Through the heart of a business corridor. And we have such, you know, if you drive up it, dilapidated buildings, we can't get the people in there and interested to pay what it needs to take because you don't have the sewer and water, and what's the septic going to be. You have very similar uses. We don't have the diversity in uses because the hotel is not going to be able to go there. A mixed use is not going to be able to go there. A stronger national retailer who's been looking to diversify is not going to go there because they need the flow. And is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? Is it 5 times money? But I regress. Thank you so much.
Well, I thank you,
appreciate it.
Rob.
Thank you.
You know, and for our residents that are watching, you know, what we're talking about is that I had asked Mr. Mood and CPL to present, and I think board members realize that issues that we have with Fleetwood and others as far as the sewer. And so I asked Mr. Mood to present tonight. We have some grant applications that we're facing, you know, potential
Deadlines.
actually opportunities, but deadlines. And so I think our residents, our owners too, are speaking because of this need that's long overdue. On Friday, I also talked with our Department of Health. Lee Falchion is one of them, Dan Keeler, and also the Assistant Commissioner for Administration, you know, and that's Anthony Ruggiero. And they're all strongly in favor, in fact, feel that this will be a huge aspect. You know, there is a lot of cost, but what we're trying to do is to get our hands around that, figure out from grant, federal, state. You know, we also have some new elected officials that are running for office. Certainly it's the time, you know, not here, you know, but representing us at federal and state level. So I want to try to coalesce this and get it going, and with the agreement and full support of the board. Rob?
Yeah, just one other quick thing. Lee Falchion, you mentioned, he's very aware. He used to know the area well. He could put together all the well completion reports in the area to show our issues.
Yeah, well, we were
very
getting,
quickly.
and that's what
So,
we're talking
thank
about, another one that happened, and it's a huge issue. And then also going down a little bit beyond our boundary, you know, we have a neighbor, you know, that a lot of people enjoy, and that's Splashdown, and and we're gonna hear maybe tonight, you know, briefly. And so we want, and we're talking about one of the big things that we've been doing, and the board has been, you know, fully engaged in and want to do more, is intermunicipal cooperation. And that's where, in this case, Fishkill. On the other side, we have East Fishkill. I'm going to be talking about another side of the town, since we're surrounded by 3 bodies of water, you know, later on about the intermunicipal, the WIC study. But this is extremely, I think, important. It's long overdue, and so that's why we're having this discussion tonight. And I'll stop talking. Why don't we come on up and identify yourself again? This is on, you know, TV too for our residents, but for our board members that may not know you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cara Reddle Daniels. I'm Kim Reddle Lawrence. And of course, we represent properties along Route 9 corridor. We're here to support everything that Rob said, and of course what you just said as well. We're implement a number of water systems at DC Gulf, also Lash and Bronze, and we're sitting with a property at Town Center unable to attract anyone. We were discussing tonight trying to attract the type of tenants that want to get people out and about along Route 9, and we can't. It's diversification. We can't have, I'm nothing against car dealerships, but we can't have all of those up and down Route 9. I've lived here for 40 years, and it's just very difficult, as Rob said, to get that type of tenant, and you have to sprinkle it. And it's a huge cost.
Right.
So anything you guys could do would be.
We, you know, definitely, we do appreciate your dedication and service and loyalty to the town. I mean, without the plaza down there that you have, and I think with also your family, both of yours, that, the town wouldn't be what it is, and we want to take it to the next level. So we appreciate your support, and then we're going to look at and probably, get this bigger group together as well as, resident involvement, because this affects also sewer and water to, so many residents in that area. We also have a really dire situation with the county that we work with respect to the trailer home, Cooper Landing Road. That's a situation that I know Councilwoman Bettina is very dear to her heart. So water, sewer, how we bring this to a reality, taking advantage of the grant programs, the state and federal, and we want to be there, and not miss the window, and that's where CPL and Mike Tremper, and others have been, working with the board to try to get us there, so thank you.
If you have listened to our past board meetings, you see how important water is for all of us.
Yes.
How important sewer is for us, especially for the businesses and especially for our residents. This is something that we are going to jump on, and we will do our best to help everybody that lives here, to help people that want to come and live here, because this is very important. This is so important. You have heard me pontificate about the need for water for our residents, for our commercials. People that are listening out there in TV land, you need to be included in this. Come out and support whatever we could do to help all of us. This is our neighborhood. We can make it better. We don't need stagnant things staying in our town. Let's all work together. And thank you for coming, honestly, and showing your support.
Again, so our residents are also aware, this
You can keep talking.
is
if
a,
you want to say anything.
this is a core quarter, but we also have other sections of the town that we're addressing the water and sewer needs on.
Right.
And each one, actually, I think every one
Every
of the
ward
wards
has one, that's right.
has it. So, gentlemen, please.
It's like Shark Tank. So listen,
How much?
I was at the Little League field the other day, and it was quite impressive, especially compared to what we have over in Ulster County. Important. I'm wearing Rocking Horse Ranch. Should have a splash down shirt on. But, and I realize also, we better, A, get a sign up on the field, and better sponsor a team next year. So we're in.
Okay, good.
How many years? 16,
Great.
17 years since we've taken over? So you guys definitely get it. We took over in 2005 from the Cornell family, who I think lived right down the road from Little League, or did. And we invested a little over $20 million, including the purchase price. And, we're here, we're committed. And we've basically kind of taken the park as far as it can go without the added infrastructure. Our sewer capacity is at its, we're really at our wit's end. We're pumping the tanks regularly. And most of you are aware that we bring in water.
How many gallons a day?
Well,
I can tell you we use about 2 million in a season.
2 million in a season.
Yeah, trucked in, so.
We're trucking it right down from Poughkeepsie.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
so-
Philisello, right, so it's, this is near and dear to our hearts, and we really appreciate this as being considered strongly. And, we could just say that, when we started maybe 40 employees in 2005. We have over 350. And by the way, most of them are from John Jay and Ketchum, right? So it's a win-win. We love the kids, we love recruiting from the area, and we're still hiring everybody.
Hey, everybody hear
Thank
that?
you.
They're hiring.
Yeah,
Although,
Seriously,
lifeguards.
and although
Yay!
we do need sewer, sewer capacity
Yes.
is not near what it would be as it is
Totally.
for the water capacity, obviously.
Right.
And our wells are, we run on 4 wells right now, and they're, especially through the season, they're tapped out. So,
You need
if we
both.
get into this dry
Sure.
dry period,
It's
the
common.
sustainability
Oh, yeah.
of our business gets questioned.
Exactly.
And we've been talking to the town of Fishkill as long as I've been here, for 15 years, about trying to get water.
Yeah.
And there's always been the discussion about trying to connect the loop together between the
Yeah.
towns, and I think it's great, and it's a great time.
Yeah, and Supervisor Oliver and I have been talking, and we're going to take it to the next level. Actually, we started this under Bob Lacola, discussions, right? And I think now we're at the point, and thanks really to CPL, unfortunately, the price tag gets worse, so that's why we want to jump in now, get grant monies, get other things going, so that we can, and then figure out a way with a public-private partnership, to further address that. It, I think, will involve, I'm sure you're prepared, that involves some skin in the game to help, financially, so the full burden doesn't go on the water and sewer district, folks, but this is part of a broader program, but I think in getting it down and changing the complexion, and as we said, we have nothing against auto dealerships, but there are a few too many, in my opinion, and Rob, don't take that personally. We've been talking about another, opportunity, so, but we really appreciate you coming out, but we'll get you involved in our discussions, and
This is our future. We're preparing for the future. We're being proactive.
so Barbara, you do have something to
So-
write about for the Hornet.
And just for the record, sir, your name from Splashdown,
Yeah.
Steve Turk?
the one and only,
Yes.
Steve Turk.
Andrew Chaffatelli.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Steve and Jeff.
Well, hey,
Thank you.
I don't know what
Thank
you're
you.
talking, I don't know who that
Yeah.
radio guy is. Let me just say something real quick. As long as I've been here, which is a little while, one of the priorities, and one of the pet peeves has been the lack of water. In fact, I actually spoke to the council members who are no longer with us, but back in the 70s, and said, well, how come you didn't take advantage of the 90% federal reimbursement for water and sewer expansion in our town? And their position was that they didn't want development in the town of Wappinger. That was their position. Unfortunately, we have received the development. We have a significant number of car dealerships, which most folks don't realize. The sales tax on motor vehicles goes back to the county of the registered owner, not necessarily to Dutchess County.
Right.
And the assessed valuation of a car dealership versus a real rateable is significantly different. So my position has been clear. I am for responsible economic development. We cannot do that unless we have the infrastructure in the ground. And we have made some progress, though, in recent years with expanding the water district with the help of private projects, which Adams Farraker Farms was one of them. We were able to bring the water south on Route 9, and then we were able to invest in connecting the loop up McFarland Road and back around. But with respect to Route 9 and Smithtown Road, we're 0.4 of a mile away. That's where we are right now.
Yep.
And talking to Rob a couple weeks ago, just bouncing some ideas, how can we get there? And I think the answer is just what the supervisor said. We need a public-private partnership, but we can't just do it with that.
Right.
The governor announced this record investment in clean water, infrastructure and environmental grant opportunities, and I think we didn't hesitate to express interest in trying to get grant funding
Right.
to do this, because we can't just do it alone, and we can't just do it with a handful of private partners. We need to have some assistance here from grant funding in order for this to be successful. And honestly, we can talk about this again, many reasons why, or one of the main reasons why many of the wells are contaminated along the Route 9 corridor are from the salt that is dropped by the state. But the state will never admit to that being the cause, but we know it is. So it's kind of ironic when you look at the fact that many of those wells are contaminated, and we haven't had the funding opportunities really until now to explore really expanding this. But that said, we have to not only focus on the commercial opportunities, we also need to look at the residential needs that are out there, because let's face it, there's a number of neighborhoods in this town that that have not had the opportunity of water expansion, and they are facing many of the same issues. So we have to look at this as a board from a balanced approach. I think a number of the folks that are in the room here certainly have a vested interest in this type of capital investment, and I think having them in the room tonight is a good first start.
Yeah, exactly. And I will add that, where in the past we may not have had all of the water resources necessary to expand at multiple levels, thanks to this board's, strong support, we've invested heavily in expanding our well capacity. We're going to be talking more about the, some filtration, to further, take care of it. So we've addressed a need so that, in fact, from the New York City DEC point of view, we don't have a capacity issue, which means that we can also start opening up, and we want to extend the district to the Old Hopewell Road, Wheeler Hill, corridor water, thanks to Supervisor Gutzler for, helping to push that through, which means that we have that capability, but we have the wellhead capability, right, Mr. Tremper, to do most of this, all of this really right now that we're talking about. So, and good, solid, clean water that is, drinkable, which is, and Mike Tremper of Camo Pollution Control is the one that manages this, and, we really appreciate that, service as well. So we'll come back. I know Grace wanted to get comment, and then we have, I think, Mr. Lawrence that wanted to make
Grace
some
Martin,
comment.
again, I still haven't
Okay.
changed my address during this meeting. This is great to get infrastructure down on Route 9. Hopefully, as you said, Mr. Supervisor, some of the other towns will get involved with this and take advantage of the money. I am on a fixed income, so I love Splashdown. It's nothing against Splashdown, but I also watch the gallons of water, and you just said the number. We are in the summer season where many of us have a garden, and I am watching to make sure that in the summer months, if I go over 1,000 units at my house, my water bill goes up. And that's very hard to do, okay? So again, I don't have any problems helping our neighbors. I mean, that's what the good book says. However, I'm hearing that there's plenty of water, okay, it'll be great to get the money, I'm saying, but then look to all the things that you also have said in the board. All the other people in town also need water. Splashdown, again, I love you dearly, I go there. You used water during the prime season where everybody else is using water in this town to a larger capacity. So again, I hope that's calculated in the equation. And as you go down the path, I'm not sure if commercial gets charged more than residential. Again, this is all from 50,000 feet. So I'm just asking you to keep this all in mind, that it's great that 9 and eventually 90 and everybody else gets water. I just don't want to turn on my tap one day and find out I'm paying $5 a gallon for water because everybody else is using the same water.
No. And
Okay,
in
just,
fact,
you know,
that,
just so again, keep that in mind.
won't be the
because-
case,
okay,
and
that's
as
perfect.
we have new water rate system that actually would make, a higher, rates charged to the commercial, and that's what we're doing. We are monitoring, in fact, Mike Tremper gives me a report almost daily on the water consumption, but it's this, we have enough water, and that's the key based on our investment, right? So, but the rate structure that we put in, that this board put in place, is designed to, in fact, charge more toward the commercial and larger volumes, and actually has given a reduced rate for our residents when we look at the numbers that we've come from a year or so ago.
So you've taken
So there's a built-in
Yes.
conservation is what we've
Yes.
done. So as an example, you go above 1,000, naturally you pay more, but the idea is to encourage conservation of
Sure,
water,
I
especially during the
understand.
summer months.
Right.
I understand that, but again, over 3 years ago, you changed that from a fixed number, which was like around 2,500, which again, I never used as a two-person house. But let me tell you, when I come into the summer, it's pretty close for me to try to stay under 1,000. In the first quarter, I'm somewhere around 500, which is the winter, nobody runs it. In the spring, I'm about 700, 800. In the summer, just like one woman said when we talked about Cedar Hill, I'm actually using, my hand water that I save to go water my garden because I'm trying to stay under the 1,000. When we go into the fourth quarter, I'm back down around 600, year after year after year after year. So again, I understand that the whole idea was to do conservation, which is great. And again, you've answered my questions. As long as we have plenty of water and you're going to help the rest of the residents as well. Route 9 is a wonderful corridor. I've said that before, but thank you very much.
So keep in mind also, too, we've got $220 million that we're looking for, grant money available by the state. And so we've got priority projects
And
we've
more
already
federal,
started,
too.
and we're looking for more,
So 220 million.
220 million.
That's-
So what we want to do, though, is we want to make sure that, again, some of the projects we've got already started in place, we've got some water, sewer, other projects, they're going to get kind of, in my opinion, they're going to get first priority. And then we know we have other businesses, but we've already kind of committed to some projects already, so we have to make sure that we take care of them first, and that's what we're going to do. So
Great, thank you very much.
And also the residents that have no town water.
Yeah.
I have residents in my ward that their wells are already going
Yep.
dry now, and we're not even in and it's very unfortunate, and we're not even in August yet.
Right.
We're a community, we work together with commercial and residential, we take care of each other. So we will make sure, if we get that water down on Route 9 to splash down, that it will get to Osborne Hill Road,
Great.
it will get to the communities over there, it will get to the communities over where these people live, so that everybody is taken care of the best we can.
And like we said, we're looking at with the neighboring municipalities, East
Right,
Fishkill
to help
and
us.
Fishkill, and it's just like with what Councilwoman Bettina said, we have 2 water mains in the town of Fishkill that are very close to our town border, one on South River Road, and there are some houses there that were overlooked for whatever reason, and when the water was extended in Chelsea, plus we have some other, then actually Booth Road or Boulevard, whatever you
Chelsea,
call Booth.
all the way up
Across
to
the other
Chelsea
side of
Road.
Booth in the town of Fishkill, there's also, there is the water that's available for the town of Fishkill. So we are looking at those resources. We're also looking at the town, the village of Fishkill water that right now is going into Chelsea Ridge, but we're looking at, that can't be tapped into for what Councilwoman Bettina's talking about, but we're looking at how we make that part of the town, system ultimately. So those are just several of what Councilman, Casella mentioned. We have several other major that are already committed, that go up and down New Hackensack, Road and so forth.
Great,
So-
again, I think it's
76.
wonderful that you're going to take
Yeah.
the
But we're
opportunity
gonna
to go
take care of
forward
the
for the
commercial,
grant,
too.
for the
Yeah.
the potential grant that's out there, so that's
Right,
wonderful.
because we need commercial to help.
Absolutely. I
Right.
said that
And,
last. but
right,
yes.
exactly, and you're so important, you've done a great job. I mean, I shop a lot at your plaza there, at Talbot's, whatever, and that's very important
Yeah.
to the community.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Grace.
Thanks, Grace.
One of the things that I don't think a lot of people realize, and Tim, I hate to put you on the spot, but do you have a ballpark what it would cost
Yeah,
to
he's
run
going to discuss that
Yeah,
in
he's gonna.
just that
few minutes.
short
Yeah.
section, so people have an understanding of
huge
Of
cost.
the
what we're talking
magnitude.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna see the magnitude.
Yeah,
of the
he's going to
cost.
review all that. That's what
All right.
the public comment's leading to, and Tim can, address some of that. John, then Supervisor.
Good evening. John Lawrence, 5 Lane Gate. I resided there for the last 35 years with my wife, Kim, and I want to thank this board for taking on the challenges that you've already accomplished, and now to do this, I just feel it's great to see. And I thank you. I thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, John.
Thank you for your investment in our community. We really appreciate the ongoing investment. And also, John has offered, and I took him up on it, to donate a tree, a pine tree. But anyway, we need a desperate need for a Christmas tree.
We need the
So,
water for that.
yes.
Last time I'll be up here, I promise.
No.
Gutzler. And like Grace, I haven't moved since the last time I was here. Regarding this, all I can say is I'm so glad we have a forward-thinking supervisor who is trying to do something to bring that water and sewer down Route 9. This was a priority of mine years ago. And the opportunities just did not exist at that time. Because I remember Councilman Beal saying repeatedly, this is the southern gateway to the town. We need to do something with it. But, as I said at that point, the best we could do was that water deal with New York City, which I really don't think was all that bad. And I appreciate you giving me some accolades, but the real credit for that deal, okay? I mean, I signed the contract. I sat and I looked pretty, okay? But the real credit for that contract, and I don't know if I have said this publicly, but I will say it again, goes to the team that I had working with me. Mike?
Sure.
Okay? Who assured us about the water quality and our capacity, and Al Roberts and Jim Horan, who negotiated with New York City. That was not an easy thing to do.
No.
And they came up with the most remarkable agreement. Not that I understand a lot of it, but when Al and Jim said, sign here, I knew I could sign, and that I wasn't mortgaging away my future.
I think we're to
And-
that point,
Yeah.
for the team,
Right, and
we're the only municipality, I believe, north of Yonkers or New York City, but east of the river, that has the right to tap into.
Right.
Isn't that correct, Jim? You know, and we're
Additionally-
going to be negotiating the
Yeah.
final price and access
Right. The
for that.
last person who really, you know, and I'm not saying last, it's just that these other gentlemen are here, when Bob Gray was engineer to the town. Okay, Bob Gray and I think John Lazzaroni was a design engineer. Okay? They put together things that even I could understand. Okay? Because Bob and John and Mike know I'm a visual person. You can tell me something and I'll go, duh, okay. You can show me something and I will understand it. And they could put things together in such a remarkable way that I really do believe that this whole thing would not have happened were it
Sure.
not for them. And I appreciate this administration reopening the lines of communication that were shut down with New York City in between our administrations there. As I said, I had some plans for this. In the interim, between our administrations, plans kind of went by the wayside, but now you've resurrected them and improved on them. And you all deserve the credit for that. And I hope this will go through, because we talk about, again, our southern gateway to the town, economic development. We want Wappinger to be a destination, not just a drive-through or a place to get a car wash, or, God forbid, an oil change. We've got enough of that, okay?
Yep.
All right, we don't want that. We want people to stop here and spend their dollars here and shop here, okay? Oh, and just one last thing that I just want to, I don't know if, well, I'll say it anyway. The houses down River Road, unfortunately, as you say, they were overlooked. The decision the town board had way back then was, with the money we had remaining, we could go down River Road or we could go up Chelsea Road. We discussed that, and the decision was made unanimously by the board that was in place at that time to go up Chelsea Road, because that allowed us greater access in the future to the homes along up Chelsea Road, Thorn Acres, those other areas.
But we didn't
there.
go very far.
Pardon me?
We didn't go very far,
Yeah,
right?
but that was the whole idea behind it. That's the way it was presented in the map, plan, and report, and it was voted on unanimously by the town board. It was not an overlook, it was a decision. It was a tough decision we had to make, but it was a decision for the
Okay,
future.
thank you.
Well, that was
So I
based,
just wanna
that was
straighten that
based
out.
on the funding available at that time, too,
Yeah.
which
Okay.
it did change in
That was
you know,
what we had available.
further years. At that time,
Yeah.
in 2011, I believe it was, that was based on the funding available at that
Okay.
time. So I know that in subsequent years, there was discussion about, oh, you know, we need to get more money or do this or that. Just needs to be understood, and I've said this before, in 2011, for that particular decision to be made, it was based on that
Okay.
funding stream.
Sure.
Thank you.
And
Thank
that's
you very much.
wonderful, but we're being proactive here, and we will try to help those
Yeah.
people, because they've lived there and they pay taxes just like everybody else, and they deserve to have water
Mhm.
and sewer from a safety and healthy
Yeah.
lifestyle
That's
here.
right.
And that's what we're gonna do, and that's what
I
we're
agree with
gonna
that, and I
fight
thank you
for.
very much
Yeah.
for being forward-looking on that.
Thank you,
Thank
Supervisor.
you.
Let me just say this, I believe everyone deserves.
Oh, that's, everybody in this town does.
And it's unfortunate that, you know, it's 2022 and we're still trying to do that. Again, I'll
Exactly.
say it again, this should have been done 40 years ago. And it can only be done with 3 legs, okay, at this point. Public, private, and grant funding.
Exactly.
If you don't have all 3 of those legs in place, you can't do
Right.
a comprehensive expansion
That's right.
of water and sewer. So I'm hoping that, again, we will have success this time with all 3 of those legs in place, so we can do some real expansion here, which
Yeah.
will lead to, I believe, better ratables along the Route 9 corridor.
And we're looking to the residents for their support. So please, come and tell us, come to the meetings. It's your neighborhood.
Okay. Mike, do you know, in light of some of the questions or comments about water capacity, but why don't you just mention
Thank you
what
for
we've
coming.
done and where we stand? Now, of course, we have some other issues like putting a tank, another water tower and so forth, but why don't you just give an overview?
So, the interesting thing about this is, I've been here for 48 years, so, and I've seen a lot of the town's water supplies, a lot of challenges the towns have faced. We've started with no water, then we drilled new wells, then we had to filter our water, now we have filtered water. Last year, last 2 years, we've drilled 3 new wells. redid the Hilltop well field, put all new filters at the Atlas well field. We're in good shape with water. But the challenges in the water field are never ending. I mean, we went from having to filter the stream water, now we have the concerns of PFOs and PFOAs. And you have to remember, when we look at these things, we have a big water supply with a lot of customers. The people up and down Route 9, a lot of those are small water systems, and they have to do the same reporting, the same sampling that we have to do on our larger systems. So it certainly makes sense if everybody's in it together. So if we have to do some filtration for PFOs and PFOAs, we have their help, and they have our help.
Exactly.
So it only makes sense to do that. We have a strong water supply. Our wellheads can produce water. There's going to be some challenges with filtrations, but I don't expect that to be a major hurdle. We could use additional storage if you look to expand your service area, but we do have room up on Cider Mill Loop, but we've had extensive conversations with CPL about looking for other locations, so we're not all our storage is in one spot. We have good potential with our water supply. There's no question. And like I say, up and down Route 9, those folks are going to face the same challenges with those. Dunkin' Donuts is his own water supply.
Right.
The little plazas are their own water supply. They got to have somebody go there every day and operate the thing.
Tremendous cost.
And it really doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense when you walk into Dunkin' Donuts on Route 9 and they have a Board of Health posting stating that the water doesn't meet certain standards. And that's that's sitting across the street from a water system. This makes no sense to me, how these parcels exist and they have wells when they're sitting across the street from Wappinger Plaza, and it's embarrassing. I'll be honest with you. When I go in there, and if you go into the bathroom, you'll see it hanging on the wall. And these types of things in 2022 need to be addressed and prioritized.
Yeah, and I think if you go up and down Route 9, you see that. I was here when the town had a bite of the apple in the early 80s and didn't take an opportunity to get a bite of the apple. If you have the funding, you should get the bite of the apple and embrace it, because.
But I think we learned.
Well, I'm not taking a shot at anybody.
Nope.
Everybody did what they thought was the right, and everybody always does. But it's an opportunity now to
Jump
move
on it
along.
and get it.
Yeah, make
Thank
it
you.
good.
And the other thing that we're doing, we're continuing to be proactive.
Yes.
Mike and CPL, and an example of that is that there is an aquifer, it's deep, on the western side of the town, which we haven't tapped into, haven't even looked at. So we're starting to look at that, but that's a deep one. It goes down hundreds of feet. So that's something that I've asked them to look at as far as an additional potential long-range source.
And I also believe, like at the Atlas well field, there's potential for more water there too. And ultimately, when New York City gets done with their work, you'll have the opportunity to use their water.
Yeah.
Because you have a good supply, and you just have to have a matching supply in their water.
And I think on the west side of town, on top of Carnwath, I've said this previously, when and if we're ever in a position to have a storage tank on the west side of town, God forbid there's a catastrophic failure between the west side and the east side, I think it would be to our advantage to have a storage capacity on the west side. And Carnwath is a high elevation, and we own the property, so something to think about.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know the legalese about putting it on a park, but it certainly is.
I don't know.
It's certainly a perfect
Well,
location from
I
a
think-
water operator's
I think as
perspective.
Mr. Rand has explained to me, not to put words in his mouth, I hate doing that but he said that there are restrictions, but certainly we can go to Albany, and for a public health service such as this, would probably be something that would be hard to object to. It's not a housing development,
It
right?
would be, that would be a
So-
perfect location from an operator.
As Barbara noted, one of the negotiations that we actually had was running the water line through Carnwath. And we actually did at that time reach out to Parks regarding the alienation issue.
Yeah.
Originally, they had taken the position that it would require alienation legislation out of Albany, but then they reversed their decision, saying that since Carnwath benefited from the water line, that was a permissible use on the parkland.
So we think we have the
theoretically,
precedent
It's a
there.
good spot for one.
The
Right.
tank
Yeah.
could, a tank is you know, an accessory to the water main, so.
Right. Okay.
So, I mean, that's what I got.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mike.
And Mike,
Any other-
thank you for your hard work, Mike.
Yeah. Any other public comments at this point in time?
I make a motion to close the public.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. Thank you. Okay, well, so we'll move into the water and sewer discussion. Mr. Moot, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. And the room made this discussion pretty easy. I generally start with the grants program as there's offense and defense, right? We've had to play defense on some of these grant applications because we're faced with notice of violations and what have you, and there's really no other recourse, but we got to go down that road. This is an offensive one where I think the town could significantly benefit. Based on some of the conditions, this could quickly turn to a defensive mode. So we're still on the offense here and in a good light. With that, you know, Councilman Phillips asked, well, how much? So John Lazzaroni is still on our team today. So all the efforts back to 2011 have not gone to waste. They've just been consistently reiterated. We looked at this pretty deep in 2019 and again at 2020. The reason why I wanted to bring this up to the board is this WIA grant announcement was made a couple weeks ago. I have a seminar Thursday to find out the particulars, but the premise was they want serious applications for this round. That means our engineering report has to be tight, our numbers have to be tight. I gotta have seeker done, and there's also board resolutions. So that's a lot of things to happen in the next 3 months. And really the board has to be right along there with me and in agreement. I don't wanna like kind of go off sort of half-cocked and something kind of derail.
But we did put our fist in on the WIA application and, you know, reserved against, identified that we want to do that.
Canvassing was the bipartisan
Right.
infrastructure, the BIL grant, and there was a canvassing for several of these projects, but this particular one, because so much work has been done over the course of the years, you know, we even tried to break it up into phases. So while the whole nut back in 2019 for sewer was 31 million, and back then even we weren't aware of all the improvements that were going to be required with Tri-Muni. So we're going to be sending more flow to Tri-Muni. We have to reevaluate, you know, the cost to take that flow for Tri-Muni. But we broke the sewer up into 3 phases, and we also broke the water up. And these costs back then, in 2019, were 13 million for water. So when we go for the grant applications, we try to aim high. We're looking at, with COVID numbers, probably 30% on top of those numbers. So they're big numbers. One thing the gentleman didn't mention was rock. We have a lot of rock to contend with in the town of Wappinger, so that's really what drives a lot of our costs up.
But also, if you look at the Fleetwood, you know, scroll, you know,
This is the sewer map.
Yeah.
It's probably hard to see at this
Right.
scale, but the yellow is Fleetwood. Fleetwood is gonna become a defensive mode here pretty quick.
Right.
We've already been put on alert by DEC that, you know, that's the next one in our.
so that's such a small community, important community to us, that you can't rebuild a sewer plant there, right, Mike? It would be prohibitive.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, and therefore, it is a stone's throw, you know, through, you know, to Route 9, and therefore we
Exactly.
have to consider that. And you know, I've talked with some of the, you know, property owners, you know, about also how we get it there, and as there's new development, some skin in the game as far as that goes. And I think, Tim, you've addressed even from the point of view of the flow, pump station, and other things which we're looking at.
Yeah, there'll be a combination of
Yeah.
gravity and different pump
Right.
stations to get it to the break point where it'll continue on, but the sewer is pretty complex. The water is a little bit more straightforward with the 3 phases there. That was the other drawing there, Joey, but I think to this room, it's gonna be hard to see.
Yeah, I can't see it.
But we will make it available, and I think we can, you know, as part of the minutes, Mr. Clerk, you know, we, you know, have that in there so that they can see it, right? You know, we can put that in. Thank you.
And possibly another application could be for filtration for PFAS and things. It's like, again, an offensive thing. This is a WIA grant program. PFOAs are an emerging contaminant, and while we're in conformance with the regs with our concentrations, it's still, you know, an item that we could consider at least applying for, so that, you know, that's probably a $7 to $9 million project. It's not required right now, but I don't know, you know, again, talking with Jim Moran here, the town could authorize bond resolutions for amounts of money, but never really be obligated to, you
Use
know,
it.
move forward. It's just really sort of a formality and a check the box at this point with the grant.
And we have been exploring also the possibility of other federal monies. The problem is it flows through the state normally, but federal monies, because they are contingent on also job increases and employment. And so where we can run some numbers, and why this has come up is that we have actually looked at that in connection with, you know, the Midpoint Park, Al's, you know, neighborhood. That plant is under notices of violation, so we're looking at sewer line and water line that basically is over in that whole area. And we, in working with East Fishkill, determined that perhaps up to 1,000 new jobs, and immediately the federal government becomes interested in that as well. And so I think, you know, what we're trying to do is position ourselves to capture the most that we can for what is an important part of the county, and let alone Wappinger itself. But certainly this thoroughfare, what is it, Bill, 40,000 cars go through? And
Yeah, between Myers Corners Road and Old Hopewell Road, it's 41,000 cars a day.
And we want to make, as I think the supervisor said, you know, a destination spot, so we have more there and less that, you know, will inhibit that. So
I mean, and to be fair, we have had that mantra for a number of years. I mean, destination, you know, Adams Farraker Farms, obviously, Alto Music,
Right.
Tractor Supply, and, you know, we've said, rather than having those 40,000 cars drive through our town, let's get a good percentage of them driving to our town. And I think that, you know, both administrations obviously have had that approach, and I think that's what we need to do. I mean, looking at some of these prime parcels that individuals that were here tonight have an interest in, looking at what they can do without the infrastructure versus what they can do with the infrastructure, it can be night and day. And, you know, we have other opportunities existing in this town from time to time that have to walk away because they don't have that infrastructure. So that's been my position, and I think being aggressive and proactive on funding is certainly where we need to be. Whether we actually are able to get the funding is certainly another question, but you got to be in it to win it, right?
That's exactly right.
But
Yeah, we need to do this. This is so important to our town.
And you have more detail to back this up, right?
I have
You know,
engineers' reports, I mean.
So
in
we
2019,
have
it
the
was-
idea, you know, where pump stations, where the lines go and so forth, right?
It's
You know,
not like
so-
we're starting from
You're
scratch
right.
by any means,
Right.
but just with seeker, we have to do 30-day lead agency,
I
like
know.
that letter has to go
Right.
out now.
And I'm sure our legislator can help us as well.
So how much
County
have we,
level.
how much have we actually submitted to the state? Have we submitted anything at all, or just conceptual, or what have we done?
None of this is a design, it's all basically
So,
conceptual.
so what you told me from 2019 is we have $44 million before you add the 30% adder. Your total will be $57 million. The total, I think we said, is $220 million out of the state. So, and I understand, Dick, you said there's some federal funding, but we just need to keep it realistic that there are, again, projects in place already, like Wildwood and a few other places, and money will be limited. So I don't want to overpromise the audience. We're certainly going to pursue it, but you got to keep it
And that's why we
realistic.
broke it up into phases, so you may not get the whole build out, but maybe you get one or two, or maybe you get all the water and one sewer, you
Yeah,
know,
that's-
it may
that's
not
a
all happen
possibility.
concurrent.
Well, I think we should, you know, create or have a workshop or do something real soon, you know,
Oh,
that would
definitely.
build on this, and maybe, you know, I don't know if there's a, Bill, you know, you've been through this before, what's been most successful, but a working committee or what have you, that then has our residents and our property owners involved in that.
You know, we should discuss it offline on
Yeah.
what the best approach is. Obviously, we have to strategize, and we're not the only municipality in New York State that's strategizing. $220 million is not a lot of money statewide,
No.
especially with New York City in the mix, which I'm not sure if they're.
We're a quarter of it.
I don't even know if New York City is eligible for this funding. Hopefully, they're not, because that could be a problem.
I'll find out more on Thursday.
You know, there's a seminar
let
that
us
he's going to
know,
be attending, and
definitely.
Scott's attending too, our grant writer, so we're going to get more information out of that and can report back, you know, to the board.
Yeah.
Tim, now that price tag is the Route 9
Tim?
corridor, right? Tim? That price tag, that's the Route 9 corridor, right?
Correct.
Right,
Good.
so
That's
it's-
not branching off
Right,
into
right,
other,
okay,
water and sewage.
okay.
But at least if we get
So-
it that far, it's easy to
Well,
branch
that's-
off.
we've got a
That,
ladder.
that's so,
And one of the
that's a
things
big
that,
step.
the Department of Health said, look, if you can get water down there,
Right.
then that takes care of some of the other issues on the
Sure.
wells, or allows them to reissue permits or to extend, right, Mike? I mean, the water seems to be certainly a key gating item.
And it's the less
addition.
expensive of the two to run, so
But-
it might be the route to go.
The core issue, though, is, for us, is we have Fleetwood. That is a sewer problem, not a water, problem. So we have to figure out, what is the right approach, as Councilman Beal said.
And
The other
Midpoint,
thing is
Midpoint as
typically
well.
the water grants and the sewer grants are awarded separately.
Right.
They're not
Yeah,
awarded.
that's what we've had, our experience has been that, so.
And this one in September right now is WIA, which is water infrastructure.
Right. So with respect to all the projects, that we have put them into the state registry, so everything is there. So they're aware of our needs, and actually, we have been fairly successful, very successful in getting through that list, so we expect that some other things will help. I think, also the advice has been, if we can really get this to a stage where they see we're for real, there's also other check boxes, boxes we can check off and so forth. So I think that's part of it, and I think showing the, intermunicipal, well, what we said was the private municipal partnership is going to be very important, as it is the whole length of Route 9 and our other east-west access points, so the village is important, the hamlets, going to East Fishkill is also, that's why we've been having this more comprehensive approach that we've, looking at pieces. But now, because of the state funding, we do have some other opportunities.
But we're at advantage because we do have Fishkill as a neighbor.
Yeah.
And they're willing to work with us, and they have water. It's going to benefit them, it's going to benefit you, it's going to benefit the whole community. So this is important.
Anything else,
Thank
Tim,
you.
that you'd like to?
That's kind of the overview. I mean, I really want to attend this seminar to get the particulars.
Right.
Perfect.
But I guess it would help if we go, because it's a lot of work to do in 3 months.
Well, I think we
I think
should
it's a
at
go.
least, give the general authorization subject to our
Definitely.
review, but CPL doing the
Absolutely.
work
Yes.
on this, so
We didn't do
you
it
have the
yet?
consensus.
Do you
of-
need a resolution to do it or no?
Yeah, what do you need us to
Jim,
do?
do we need a resolution to give Tim the okay to pursue? No.
I'll just make it clean. I'll move the town authorizes the engineer to the town to start the application process for
Second
the
it.
grant funding.
I'll second
Okay,
it.
motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. And for our, Rob and Jeff and so forth, then you're more than welcome to start, getting involved. And I think, with, everybody else that came out, Rob, maybe you can be a little bit of the ringleader, to help drive it. And, I think let's get this,
Keep us in the
municipal
loop.
partnership and state, government, thing going.
Let us know if you need
Okay,
anything from us.
Tim has actually a good team now with the water and sewer.
Okay.
They brought on some other people, so I think you have the resources kind of do it. And then they have some good grant writers. And Scott Williams is still working, fully, committed and has been involved in this, and then they have the technical team. So thanks, Tim, we'll
When
do
is
that.
when
Mike?
is the actual application due?
I think I heard originally September 9th, but again, I'll find out all that.
On Wednesday.
Let's get it in as soon as
Thursday.
possible, because probably first come, first serve, so let's get it in there.
Well, we can't miss the deadline, and like I say, there's
We may
board
need to have a
resolutions.
That you have
special
to
board
do.
meeting just to pass a resolution or two needed for that,
We'll just
and then
do
we'll
it.
just.
Yeah,
do it.
whatever you need, Tim,
Yeah.
let's just move
We'll
it forward
just
and get
do
the
it.
money as much as we
Okay.
can.
You let us know, we're
Okay, will
ready.
do. I'll get with Jim.
Thank-
Joey, do you have those maps? Can you send them? Thank you.
Thanks, Joey.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, thanks.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks for coming.
Well, he has sent a letter to us, and we'll be considering that,
Looking at WQIP.
but he did it right away, along with 10 other projects, priorities. Thank you. Take care, Mike. See you. Okay, the next item, Frederick, this is with respect to the finance account clerk. Give us an update.
Yes, thank you. We have
Yeah.
an
Barbara, we
open
did.
position.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we closed it.
We closed it.
We have an opening in the accounting department. May 20th, we had our account clerk typist leave. So we want to replace that position. We sent a request to Dutchess County, who gave us a list of 5 candidates.
Okay.
They are supposed to be temporary or provisional because they did an exam, and subject to the results of those exams, will determine whether those candidates are reachable or not. So anyway, there were 5. We interviewed 2. 1 declined for insufficient compensation, and 2 did not respond. So the one that I would like the request the board to appoint is the one that we, after the interview, we feel would be best fit for the position of account clerk typist.
What's the level of experience and then compensation?
The candidate will be getting the same amount. It's 22.39 per hour.
What's the title?
Account clerk typist.
Okay.
And that is already, that's the existing title, correct?
Yes.
So we don't have to worry about civil service other than filing the,
We got the
That's-
list from civil service.
She needs to take the test yet, right?
They took the test,
Yes.
but they're waiting for the
They're waiting
The
for the
results.
So
results.
it's provisional,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
But the position description is
Yes.
same.
is the same.
Right.
So it's a provisional hire based on the outcome of the test results, correct?
Yes.
And then can we do a resident, is she a Town of Wappinger resident? He or she a Town of Wappinger resident?
She comes from Beacon, so.
All right, you can't
she
do
doesn't-
you can't do a residential
No,
preference then. So, I mean, this is one of those ones where you roll the dice, because if the person's not reachable top 3 or reachable
Yeah.
period, then they're not gonna be able to, remain in that position full-time.
Right.
When are the test results expected to be out?
In this, anytime. They didn't tell me exactly when, but the candidates are aware that this is provisional, and the position becoming permanent depends on whether they will be reachable or not.
I'd
We
rather
just
almost
want-
hold off
Right,
like,
yeah,
another
the-
week or 2 for the test results and then make it, instead of making it provisional. Otherwise, if it doesn't work out, they don't pass, then we got to do it all over again. Just my opinion.
If the test results are imminent, then it would make more sense, in my opinion, just like Councilman Casella said, to wait for the results to come out first, so we're not in the awkward position of having someone that did not qualify on the list already hired.
Okay.
So is that doable? I know you have
But that's
a
not-
lot
that's-
of work, and
Right.
plus you're in the audit, that's still ongoing, right? The financial audit, and,
Right.
We're getting ready for, he has a lot of work to do in August with respect to budget planning.
Is there somebody
So-
at the county we can call?
Yeah, we could call tomorrow.
And,
See if you get the results.
if they're saying that it's going to be delayed a month and a half or so, maybe it's worthwhile, but if it's going to come
Yeah, I
out
agree.
next week, like Councilman Beal said, it doesn't make any sense.
The other option is if they don't qualify for full-time appointment, then they could be hired up to 17 and a half hours, or maybe more hours because it's based on fiscal year, right? So,
So the examination was given, according to what I pulled up from Dutchess County,
Okay,
6/25/2022
okay,
for account clerk typist.
yes.
So,
yeah, it's gonna be,
That
a
should be a
couple,
few
Probably a month
months.
or
it's gonna be a
so.
couple more months, probably.
and so with respect to the vacancy, I believe there's a provision in the rules that allows you to continue a provisional appointment should the person not be reachable.
How
but
long
only
can you-
to the next test.
Until the next test.
Correct. So
So
they,
So
they could stay on if they don't pass the
Yeah,
first one
until
for,
the next test, and that would probably be, next year? My guess is,
Do they have a
tests
schedule?
can be up to,
it could be longer than that.
could be a couple
Yeah, it
years,
could be
right?
longer
But-
than that.
Yeah.
So I would say based on that.
Yeah, then
let's do
That
it.
changes it.
Yeah, then
Yeah,
just hire
just-
them then, if that's the case.
So Frederick, be honest, you need the help.
Yes.
Right.
When it was imminent,
Yes.
I was thinking we were
I
talking
agree
next
with
week
you.
or
I
so.
agree.
Yeah.
But if we're talking months and then years, so then it just makes sense.
I think we should just do
Yeah,
it.
go ahead.
So do we need a resolution, Jim?
Yes, you know, if you want to do it now off the floor, we can prepare one.
Well, let's
Yeah,
do it
let's
off
do
the
it.
Yeah,
floor.
so
He's got a lot of work.
I make a resolution that we approve the hiring for the financial account clerk typist for Frederick at a salary of 22.39 per hour?
22.39, yes.
Second. Oh,
Beginning
sorry.
immediately.
You need a name.
Second.
Name.
Yeah, what is the name?
I sent you the name.
I know you sent it, but I don't have it.
Her name is Lorraine Brown.
Let me
Brown.
check.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll check what we're doing, but let's have that resolution based on that, and so
And
do I
fill
have a
in the
motion?
name. I
It's
second.
subject to the standard conditions, which is approval for the paperwork with Dutchess County Planning.
Right.
Dutchess County Human Resources, as well as a probationary term of up to 6 months.
Right.
Right.
Sounds
And
good.
Again, it's a probationary term because the results of the tests are not in.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Okay?
Beautiful. Thank you.
All right, so we need a vote.
Vote.
We did
We did
two.
two.
Well,
First and a
so
second.
there's a motion and second, so I was just looking for the name. Yeah, Lorraine, Lorraine Brown. Okay, so we have a motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed, thank you. Okay, Jim, you were going to discuss and with the board, the transfer yard rules.
So,
Question.
you know, we had discussed some of the issues with respect to the recycling center rules previously. One of the, an issue had come up with the resident, and we actually discussed this, I believe, at the last time we spoke about this, and it was with respect to someone who someone who recently moved in and does not have a vehicle registered in the town of Wappinger, a license registered in the town of Wappinger. The other issue, so that's one issue, and then the second issue is people can have dual residences. In this case, is a person who resides, has a place in Manhattan and has a place in Wappinger and splits time between both. Not uncommon, in the Hudson Valley. The person is a property owner, has, pays taxes, has utility bills, and the only thing is the person's driver's license is at a New York City address, not a town of Wappinger address. The vehicle is for New York City, at the New York City address where the license is. I looked through the regulations that we have currently in place, and the only requirement that we have is that the person be a resident of the town of Wappinger, and be an individual, not a corporation. So in this case, if somebody has a second home in the town of Wappinger, I don't see anything in our regulations that preclude that. The only issue being that with respect to the registration of the vehicle and the address on the driver's license. There is a provision.
This is a can of worms that I don't want to open, I'm telling you right now. And I understand that there are folks here that know this person. This is a can of worms, because now if we entertain this, Jim, anyone else that has a driver's license that's from outside this area can claim that they live in two places. So how do we prevent that? And I feel like I've sat here for 16
Well, they have
years
to
and
have
had
it-
debates about the recycle center. We set rules and when we change them.
They have to have a tax bill. Be an owner of property or
Right,
a
but
resident of property.
who's to say they're not the owner of the property that's renting it out to someone?
Well,
We don't allow that.
Well, I think through an affidavit, Bill.
Yeah.
Right, but this, again, why do we have rules? I don't understand. The
many
idea of the
permanent
recycle
residents do
center
you
is
have?
for folks that live in the
It's
town of
resident, I mean,
Wappinger,
we've
not
been-
live in the Manhattan and the town of
Right.
Wappinger. That's the idea. The recycle center costs us a lot of money to operate more each year the cost of business, okay? So if you live in two different places, you're telling me that you can still use our recycle center just like someone that lives here 100% of the time. I don't
I agree with
think
Councilman Beal.
that's inconsistent with the intent of this operation.
I agree 100%. How many permanent residents can you have? What's the law? Is there a law?
No.
No.
I mean, again, it's
So you
Just
can have
as
like,
residents.
so
We
you can
don't-
have 10, you can have, considered 10 residents. You can have a house in Massachusetts, you can have a house in New York, New Jersey,
Yep.
all over the country.
correct.
Okay,
So if I want
So
to
there's a
vote,
there's this distinction
Thank you.
between domicile and residence.
right. So if I
Okay?
want to vote,
Nothing in our code talks about domicile, it talks about residence.
well, we've had the discussion about domicile versus residence
Right.
out here.
Again, our code doesn't say
Right,
that, our code
right,
talks about
because
residence.
that, the wind was blowing a different direction during that debate. So, you know, I've had the responsibility to tell someone who was cleaning their house out, who just lost a parent, that just owned the house, that they can't use the recycle center because they don't live there, that's not their primary residence. So how's that person gonna react when they hear this meeting and we're gonna allow somebody that lives in New York City to use the recycle center?
Because they spend over
person-
50% of their time here, Bill. They're a resident.
You gotta spend 100%.
But your
of your
case
time.
was not a resident.
Right.
But there's nothing in the code or the law that says that, 100%. It just says resident. So if you want to change the law, the code, then that's.
No, I think we have a formula that
worked.
determines how many points you need in order to use the recycle center. Is that correct?
Yes.
So part of that equation is the driver's license or a non-driver ID.
So are you saying someone who doesn't drive can't use the recycle center?
No, a
No,
non-driver
no,
ID.
no, you can get a,
You,
Yeah, well, we have those.
but you also can get
Yeah.
a non-resident ID that looks like your license. That says, this is my address, I live here.
But a landlord who rents out his apartment or house can pay the utility bills, so that doesn't really mean that they're a resident.
Yeah, but in this case, it's a resident.
In this case, but not.
Yeah, well, we're just talking about this case.
Right.
But if you make a rule, it's got to apply to
It's everybody, right, we're not just
Yeah.
doing specific.
So what we're saying is, again, the other indicia, which is the tax bills.
Well, I mean, this person
the
has a tax bill in their
affidavit,
name.
And the
Of course,
affidavit,
an owner's gonna have a tax bill.
Right.
right.
But that is not a resident.
So that's where we're proposing an affidavit, Joe.
But
No,
what
it's
do we
not.
do, what do we do
No, it's
regarding where you vote? You can only vote in one place.
Correct.
So what do
And
you
have-
use?
And under New York law, you can choose your place.
Of
You
domicile versus
You have the
residence.
option to choose where you vote.
Right.
So
Okay.
if this person chooses to vote in Wappinger rather than New York City, does that make the person qualified?
Well, they gotta change the resident in order to vote in Wappinger.
No, again, New York law says.
You can change
You can
it.
register at any residence. So if you have a residence in New York City, you
Right.
have a residence in town of Wappinger, you may register in the town of Wappinger. If you had a residence in Syracuse and New York City and town of Wappinger, you could pick Syracuse.
Right.
Correct.
And why would you do that if you lived in New York City versus Wappinger? Why would you choose that, to vote that way? I don't know why you would.
Because
But it's an
tax
option, though.
ramifications, Al.
Right.
That's what it is. It's the tax where they own an
And how do
apartment
we-
or condo in New
and How do we
York.
distinguish from a
option.
business as an example, right? So somebody puts their house in a business. How do you tell them, well, it's the business, not the actual owner, right? But it's actual
Again,
owners.
we've said, the rules say you have to be an individual. So we're
Right, it
not
can't be a
talking about
business.
businesses.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, but we have one where I think they got a case on that recently, up on, I think it was Carmel Heights. They had a resident that had that issue.
But again, in that case, the person, so if you own a property as an LLC and you rent from your LLC, you're a tenant.
Right.
And our rules
You
don't say you
can't-
have to own property in the town of Wappinger, you only have to reside here. So many, doctors frequently use, as a tax shelter, they put their property in an LLC, and then they enter
Yeah.
into a leasing agreement to lease that property that they
Right.
reside in.
Right.
My house at Wheeler Hill was in an LLC.
Yeah.
It's taxed in estate planning. That should do it.
Same thing, I mean, with respect to trusts, You know, many people put
Right.
properties in trusts, and they don't own the property, so.
Okay, well, it seems like there's no willingness to consider that, so we'll move on.
I'm just looking at the rules here. I mean, it specifically says you must present vehicle registration and proof of residency in the town of Wappinger. I mean, it's in the rules.
Right.
So, you're suggesting that we allow vehicle registrations that are outside the town of Wappinger? I mean, if they live in two places, wouldn't they have another vehicle registered here?
No, I didn't when I moved here, you know. I had the New York City registration. And same with, you know, mail was sent to New York City, even though we're living here, because we were, in that case, building a house. But I got a permit.
Did you know somebody?
No, it was before anybody, before I even knew him, before anybody knew who I was.
No, I think my point here overall is we're always going to have an exception here. I mean, we've gone through this process, 10 times, I feel like. And the one that's posted here is from 2013. Didn't we just codify the rules and put it in the code recently?
No.
I thought we were talking about
No,
doing
yeah,
that.
we did talk about that.
We talk
Yeah.
about it a lot.
Yeah.
So the last version,
That's why they're trying to.
is this the latest version that's on here?
To be done. When we're due.
Yes.
Right, the fees, maybe they changed.
Yeah,
but-
fees we did.
I thought that we were going to codify the fees and the rules and regulations into the code.
We had talked about it, but it still hasn't been done.
Yeah, we haven't done that.
I mean, you guys are saying it to me like we never had that conversation.
No, I said.
No,
we had the
I said we had the
conversation.
conversation actually a few times, but it's never been done.
I know we've sit up here
No, we
for
have. We've
hours.
had the conversation.
We've had the conversation a number of times, actually.
All right, well,
But
okay,
these
so
are kind of the issues.
let me
that-
end it with this then, okay? If that's the direction we want to go, prior to codification, we need to take that under consideration. That's it.
Sure.
Sure.
That's all.
Agreed.
We can have that
And then it-
deliberation.
and then it
Let's
would-
make that a workshop, because I don't want to sit here for 4 hours having that.
No, I know. Wait,
So I
wait.
mean, to your point, it's proof of residency. You know.
Yes.
I just remember Chris Masterson had this thing where it was 3 points for this, 3 points for that, 2 points for this, and then
That's what
whatever way you
Barbara was
got to
saying.
9 points,
Yeah.
you had it. Right, so we'll talk about that at a future
Yeah,
workshop.
okay.
But that might be a way to make this work.
Okay,
Okay.
let's move.
Steve, tennis courts. Barbara's volunteered to go and,
Barbara
power
and-
wash it.
Barbara and Grace both.
I hope she got 6 months to do it. Situation is we've gotten
That's not
complaints
volunteer.
That's actually a good deal.
about algae on the playing
Okay.
surface of the tennis
Tennis.
courts. It's 6 courts, it's a total of 35,000 square feet. I've had this problem in the past. I've made attempts to correct it without complete
We even cut down
success.
trees, you recall.
Right, we took down trees
lot of
to
trees.
slow the return of it,
Right.
and it has been somewhat successful in that respect. But in the past, I've tried the pressure washing. It's extremely slow. Our pressure washer is not made for that kind of square footage. I rented a warehouse scrubber, floor scrubber. That was about 50% effective. The trouble is, unless you remove all of the algae, it returns. Their spores are still there, and over time, it returns. What this is not a pressure wash. It's called a soft wash process. It uses an algicide chemical and is guaranteed to remove all the
Algae.
organic compounds. In addition to the algae, there's some other leaf stains and that sort of thing.
Rust stains, right.
And he said that this will take care of any organic compound that's on the playing surface. Speaking of the playing surface, that is an 1/8-inch thick special compound that's squeegeed over top of the asphalt. My attempts in the past have removed a percentage of that surface.
Steve, can I just,
Yes.
So when I saw this, much like what Grace had said earlier, I had heart failure. So the first thing I did was I Googled how to clean a tennis court. The first thing it said is do not pressure wash it.
Right.
Do not, unless you want to remove it.
Right.
And to use 3 parts bleach, True Green, and water. Now, it's just the first and second site I saw, when I saw $10,000, I think that's nuts. But anyway, I've never cleaned a good tennis court, so I don't know.
Right.
But I got this just by Googling it.
When I
agree
was
with you.
asked
I
to
just
look
think
into this, I
So-
knew it wouldn't be inexpensive.
Right. But I'm saying that and some brooms is pretty inexpensive compared to $10,000.
And-
So I don't know what the answer is.
But you have-
And this has to be done every year, correct? Or-
Every 2 years.
No.
Every 2 years?
Well-
Okay, I was just wondering.
It depends.
It's been at least 5 years since I've done anything with it, and it all depends on the weather. It's a
Right.
weather-related
Right, it's
problem.
dampness,
If we have
rain.
a very moist summer, that's
Right.
going to accelerate the growth of the
Of
algae.
course. It's the same
and then if we
allergy that's
pressure
on your
wash it,
white
we've
fence.
ruined the court.
It's the
Right.
same allergy
On the
that.
rooftops.
Exactly.
So
Did
you-
you get a
but-
chance to ask any other municipalities if how they remove
I
it?
reached out to East Fishkill.
Mm-hmm.
They have the same issue in one of their courts, and he hasn't done anything to
Remedy
rectify
it?
that
No?
yet. I did reach out to 2 other municipalities and didn't get a call back yet.
Okay.
So one of the things you got to really be careful for is the surface. Because if you don't have a professional and you do the simple solution that Mr. Phillips was talking about, I think you'll damage the court. And then what do? Then you got to pay for the expense to resurface the court over the asphalt. So you have to have a professional. I think they're fully insured, a couple $1 million. They've done a number of these large courts before, and they guarantee their work. So just something to take into consideration as we're thinking about it. I know 10,000 is a lot of money, but it's something that hasn't been done in such a long time. And when the algae does get wet, people aren't planting the court naturally, but it does become slippery and it's a safety issue.
Even the school districts should have some idea,
How about a
because they
local
have tennis courts.
association?
Well,
A local tennis association?
yeah.
Yeah, we
I
have cross
mean,
courts, right?
Exactly, yeah.
My fear is, when you get this organic buildup, it becomes very slippery out there.
Yes.
And God forbid, a senior citizen, as you said, that is using the court falls and gets seriously injured. So I think we need to address it in some way, shape, or form. I do have reservations about 10 grand, obviously. If that's the only approach, I'd like to see at least, 3 quotes, though, if we're gonna do something of that expense.
So we actually had a couple other people go out there. Steve and I were out there one day last week, and the individual came out and said, I can't do it. I'm looking at it, I'm afraid to touch this. I'll only make the conditions worse, and I don't want to be responsible for replacing the whole court. So they had one there, and then I had another one, Steve, I went on, basically the same comment. So there was actually 2 other companies we looked at in addition to Capo, which is what Steve looked at. And so far, they're the only ones that have actually given us a price quote.
I know Beacon, the city of Beacon has a couple courts. Be interesting to see what they
Right,
do.
he's on vacation.
Right, it's got to be somebody covering,
Yeah,
you would
so
hope. Yeah.
I'm waiting to hear back from him.
Yeah, Beacon, Fishkill.
It
It would just be interesting to know what they do.
I can
Maybe we
do
could a
further
contract.
research on this.
Maybe we could do a joint thing with all the towns. We got tennis
I
courts.
think one of the problems, like
you know.
Mr. Bill said, was we're doing this at the last second.
Yeah,
If it's been building up for a few years, it's bad.
yes,
And again, this is,
dangerous.
we have no foresight, and we need foresight for these things. Like, $10,000 is a lot of money, but if that's where we're at, unfortunately, that's where we're at.
Well, if you think about it, we haven't budgeted for it in the past, and if it's $5,000 per year, right, so, because it's over a 2-year period, we're just happening to do it right now, but if we budget properly, because we know this is going to be an expense as we come out, maybe it's something you take a look at.
We should also look into it, is what my point is.
I agree.
I'm not saying we shouldn't, I'm just.
No, I know you're not,
Extensive
but I think
research on the internet, and there's not a lot of information out there. I've called companies that are supposed to be specialized in tennis court maintenance. They aren't located in this area and aren't interested in coming to this area to do the work. This is the only company that I've had that has given us a price and said they can take care of it. And I was very comfortable in speaking with him that he knows his business. I agree, it's a very expensive
But
proposition there.
we do have an immediate need. There's no question that the algae is there and
Yeah.
it's dangerous when it's wet,
Yeah.
including in the mornings when the dew is on the court,
Right.
correct?
And it's not gonna get better, unless we treat it.
This is for how many years?
2 years.
Well, again, it all will be dependent on weather conditions.
No, all right, so
It's
he could
been
just do it 1 year.
At least 5 years.
But he could
since I've
just
done
do it this year, once.
Yeah, so what he,
Right. It would
Just
be
once.
Once this year.
We
yes.
don't have to
So-
go into a contract or anything, and then we can look into how other municipalities.
So what he
Seems
told
like
us
a
was,
maintenance, biannual agreement or something. We don't have to do that right
Right,
now, right?
we don't have to do
No,
that.
He's just talking about
It's
a-
just a one-shot.
We could
deal.
just do
Yeah.
a one-shot deal, and that's gonna cost $10,000? For one shot?
It's specialized equipment, it's 35,000 square feet. You know, that's twice the size of this building.
For one tennis
No,
court, or
no,
for
no,
all
it's
of
the
them?
whole
Six
complex.
tennis
So it's,
courts.
so all the tennis courts need to have this done, all of
Right.
them?
so do we know the last time we resurfaced the courts? How long ago? Because,
But that happened when I wasn't here.
okay. So the point is that
Barbara,
Chris
did
just
that
pulled
happen
something
to
up
you?
on
Yeah,
Google here, and it says every 4,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably 10 years ago.
So 3 sites have told me the max life for an outdoor tennis court is 4 to 8 years.
10 to 12, I would say.
10 to 12, okay, that's good.
Well, if we're at 10 years now,
We're
then why
10
are we
years
not
now.
just resurfacing the tennis courts instead of spending $10,000 to clean them?
you know how expensive it's gonna be?
That's gonna be a lot of
Well, I'm
money.
just saying, you know how expensive $10,000 is right now on the floor? I mean, all due respect, I want to see 3 written quotes on this. We can't be expected to spend $10,000 on cleaning tennis courts with, the notice I got on this was 4 days ago. And, I'm not trying to disparage anyone's efforts, but that's a lot of money that's not budgeted.
But Steve, you said though, there's not
That's
3 available.
That's the issue. There's nobody that is willing to come here to do the job.
Okay,
I've
there are-
tried. Listen, I've been working on this for 2 years. In fact, that's what generated the emails back, that started this, because I haven't been able to find anybody that could take care of this. And that's, that's where we are today.
What do other municipalities do? Nobody else cleans
They
their tennis
haven't
courts?
gotten back to him, I asked that.
Right, but I mean,
I
there's
know,
plenty of
I know.
tennis courts in this vicinity, not to
Right.
mention we have cross courts right in our
Yep.
town.
Well,
But you
that's
got the
indoor.
Poughkeepsie Tennis Club
No, I
also.
believe there's a pool there. I don't know. But the point is, I mean, I understand there's a
IBM
need
site,
here,
yeah.
but $10,000 to do this without any other quotes, to me, I cannot support that. That is not fiduciarily responsible, in my opinion.
Tim, have you quoted
I
resurfacing?
just texted Steve, Al, and they did do the coatings, Oakland coatings, they're now crack coat, but they did the Challenger Field coating. And when we do schools, they're like, 2 people, so I just texted him and I texted you his contact.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
they'll probably say you need to resurface it, but at least it's a credible source that
Meanwhile, let's see if anybody
I
gets
I
back
can
to
make
you.
more phone calls, I can't guarantee results.
Oh, I understand that, but
Tim, how much do you think it would cost to resurface?
I'd be wrong if I told you, but it's not cheap, like you say.
No, it's not going to be. It's an extreme amount of surface area.
no, I understand that, but it hasn't been done in a while.
Right.
And it lasts for how long? Resurfacing?
Say 10 years?
10 years.
Yeah.
Right,
So
which is-
maybe it's time to,
Right, it was 10 years ago that we did this
to
resurface.
look at it and get it done from a safety perspective.
There is a section of the one tennis court that is gonna need some repair. The surface is lifting.
Okay.
One over by the barn has a couple of rips in the,
I would hate to spend $10,000 to clean it and then determine after we
You have
spent the
to repave it.
$10,000 that we have to resurface it.
Tons of sites.
Yeah, I know.
so what do you want to quote then to see what it'll cost to resurface?
I just think we need more of an analysis here. And I understand some folks here. have
Tim,
done-
you can do that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll give it to Tim
I would
to
just
do.
rather have something in front of me here to give us some options and we can, because residents are gonna
Yeah,
stop me in Hannaford and say,
well-
what was that?
Well, and we're
Why did you do that?
both Chris and I were looking at all these different sites, so I think
Yeah.
if we do a little bit more, but I know that Steve's put a lot of time into it.
And thank you.
So-
Yeah, honestly,
listen,
thank you.
I'm just here presenting information, you know, you
Right.
folks make the decision. I have nothing in this either way, you know? I'll continue to gather information as best I can. There's not a lot
One of
out
the
there.
issues that I see just reading, and I don't know nothing about tennis other than you whack a ball over the net, but it's a lot of maintenance.
It is.
You know, I mean, just reading, it's a ton of maintenance, so.
We were out there, you know, about once a week out there cleaning the courts off, you know,
Yeah.
so that there's no debris on them, and, you know, weed whacking the entire around the
Perimeter,
fence
right.
line and all that. It's just, yeah, it is a lot of maintenance involved with them.
So I think that if it makes the councilman and supervisor comfortable, we'll see if we can get another quote to go out there and see what it's going to cost. I mean, I don't know that we have a lot of time to do that. Our next meeting's not until August 22nd, and we should also take a look at, since Tim's doing some of the work already, probably see something maybe tomorrow or the next day, but there's no time to vote on something like this.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into the resurfacing question as well, because there are.
Look at both, yeah.
There's some cracking in the large one on the Pie Lane side, and then there is about 18-inch diameter portion that is gone on my side of the street. So, you know, that is a real question.
Well, we'll find out.
I'll look into that as well and bring that back.
In the meantime, would it be appropriate, Jim, for us to put some, maybe signage, you know, unless we already have it?
I
that
have
says,
signage up that says.
Play at your own risk,
Courts
or
are closed
be
when
careful?
the playing surface is wet.
Oh, okay.
Does, you know, in the interim, while we're doing this, does any, you know, what we talked about, bleach or other solution help at least take off some of that slippery nature or not? And brushing it?
really.
Not really?
I mean,
Okay.
it's an extensive amount of effort for very limited
Okay.
results.
Well, I think we need to get more information, and then we'll go from there
I'll
at
do the
this
best I
point.
can. You know,
Yeah.
like I said, there's not a lot out there. I've been working on this for 2 years.
Right. Well, I have some friends, I'll also reach out to them
You
and
know,
find
it's-
out.
That's
You
fine.
know,
with
the-
me.
And provide
I mean, the
Anybody
others-
can send information my
Right.
way. I'm all ears.
Exactly.
Well, you know, so that, you know, then is probably where we have to at least put some signs, and perhaps when in the early morning it's slippery, because we have a lot of people that like to use it, and I'm worried about that.
Well, they're aware that it's slippery.
Oh, I know, but still, you know,
Yeah, and
they want to, you know, a lot of people use it in the
Right,
morning,
right.
early
Oh, no,
morning,
I
before it
understand.
gets hot in the summer. I mean, that's.
Right. Well,
I've
it's-
had to remind them that,
Yeah.
you know, when it's wet, they're not supposed to be playing.
Yes, it's not just the tennis courts, it's the pickleball courts,
Right.
it's, you know, we're
Yeah,
concerned about their
there's six
safety
courts,
too.
six
Yeah.
courts
Yeah.
involved, so, you know.
So,
Okay, well, I think the consensus is that we do a little bit more work. Tim, let us know, and in the meantime, if we get something more solid and definitive, then maybe we can just, you know, discuss it and see what happens quickly. And-
If you get some, you know, solid information that we can make a quick determination, I have no objection. Call a special board meeting
Yeah.
for that purpose. We can approve the expense if
All right,
we can
that's-
get consensus. This way, we don't eat
Sure.
up the whole summer on this.
Right, agreed.
I
We
mean,
could
I don't
do
want
it
to come
by
in,
Zoom
you know,
if we need
if we have
to,
a meeting for
whatever.
one item, that's fine, you know.
right.
I'm just saying.
And we could do Zoom meeting
Yeah,
if we have to, if people
don't-
are away
No,
or
I don't know
whatever.
if we can now legally
don't know
do
if we
Zoom,
can
right,
anymore.
Jim?
Not
That-
legally,
Can
probably.
you?
I don't think so. But anyway, well, look,
we
we'll
just-
cross it, Tim, we get some more information, we look
I
into
guess
it.
one
and-
question regarding, just one question. How long do you have to take the courts out of commission to?
He said it would be 2 days to do the cleaning. I don't know what the resurfacing would be.
So is
Imagine
it
that might be a
two-
little.
2 days per court or 2 days?
No, that was
all?
the whole job.
Okay.
It's 35,000 square feet, it's gonna take time to do it.
Well, 2 days is not a lot of time. but-
No, but I'm saying, if you take it out of service, it's gonna be months. So,
Yeah.
it's what it is.
Wait, 2 days, you said, to do all the courts.
2 days to do the soft wash.
Yeah. And you're talking about resurfacing? We don't know how long it would take to resurface.
I don't know, yeah.
Well,
gonna
that's,
have to take it.
We have no idea.
Yeah, we'll have to do that in the
Yeah, but
off-season
he
or
doesn't,
something.
so it'd
but-
only be 2 days that it's gonna be out,
Right.
if they clean it. All of them.
Yeah.
That's not too bad, 2 days.
No, there's not an issue of how long it's
No.
going to be out of commission. The real question is, are we going to do it? So I think.
Oh, no, we don't
I
know.
think the majority of the board here said no, so, okay.
But if we get the right information, we can vote on it.
Right, you know.
And have a special meeting quickly.
And we, may have something on the grant situation after Thursday, so then we can look at it. So I think, Tim, get your folks to look at it quickly, work with Steve on doing that, so we can,
Move forward.
Move forward.
Before the end of the summer.
Yeah. Okay, so,
I'm not saying they're gonna be.
no, understood. Okay, well, let's move
No,
on.
but-
I think we've beat this one to the death right now, so have the clear understanding.
Thanks, Steve.
Steve,
see the Rocky
while you're up there, why don't we, and Joey, I'm sorry, but while you're up there, why
The
don't you
pond.
just discuss the Rockingham, pond update, and then, because we've had some issues too about cleaning it.
I was out there today, we're getting ready to install the shed, and I was out there last week laying out the plan for the shed, and there has been about a 50% reduction in the algae on the pond there in that time period. They did an additional treatment, and it has made some, pretty significant improvement over what was there prior.
Good.
So the way the contract is set up is we have a 2-year service contract. They basically go out from April through, I think it's September. What they're requesting is based on the amount of algae that we had out there, that they have 2 additional services, an extra one in July and an extra one in August. They're $371 apiece, so it's a total of $742. They think because, again, there's no water flowing into
No,
that
it's-
pond, right? Anything that you get there is sediment, algae is building up pretty good. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to clean it up. And then once Steve gets the aerator there, that'll certainly help the pond itself. But this is an extra cleaning we're looking to do, again, to, kill some of the algae that's in there and really building up significantly in the pond.
From my experience of owning a pond previously, and then I did, the applications about 4 times during the summer of organic, non-harmful applications, but that was probably around $200 each time. So I paid $800 to $1,000 to keep the algae, back. Of course, I did have flowing water, so it was more along the sides and the shallow areas, which we don't have the flowing water. And we
And
have
keep in mind-
sediment constantly coming in with thunderstorms and so forth, so it's
Keep in mind, it's only about 3 feet at its deepest point in the middle of the pond.
at the deepest point, yeah. So, I think that it's probably, that quote is within reason for the situation that we have there, where we don't have flowing water, we have sediment coming in, right? And barring, some other situation, that it's probably reasonable at least to try it, and then as we look at some other things, we go, since we made the commitment to try to maintain that.
And hopefully the aerator works.
Yeah, and that will, once we get that in place, that will help it, significantly. So I think, Al, we, certainly, we have a resolution, so we can come back to that, for that. Right, Steve, do you have any issue?
No,
else?
the shed is gonna house the aerator. so
Right,
that's all
yeah,
part
and
of
that's
the
what
plan
you're-
that is moving forward.
And then you got the electrical as well, ready to go after, once you build up the surface for the shed.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
the electrical be installed, and then we're gonna put the security cameras in there as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks,
Thank you, Steve.
thanks. Sorry, Joey, I got you while you're coming up.
Thank you, Supervisor, members of the town board. We will make this quick, hopefully. It was originally the idea of the supervisor and the administration to exhaust the remaining town guides that we had from 2021, and we have now come to the end of those guides.
Yeah, few left, but not many.
Few left, but we are now moving forward with the ordering of the 2022 guides. It will be more of a summer, fall, and winter Wappinger Town Guide for 2022. At the last regular town board meeting, I provided you folks with draft copies of the guide. I have yet to receive any comments, except we're going to change Councilman Casella's picture.
Thank you.
With a couple of circles in the middle so we can put it on our walls.
Yeah, of course.
No, and I'm fine with it, obviously, because I worked with you on it.
Of course.
You're fine with the darts? Is that what you're fine with?
No, I was just joking about that.
With
Sorry.
that,
That's okay.
With that, we are looking at approximately 1,400 guides since it's the latter half of the year, and we are looking at a finalized quote of $2,815. They originally gave us a misquote of a higher amount, but after doing some consulting and figuring out what they meant,
Is the
that
county
is
going to
the
do it, or is
actual-
somebody else?
Yeah,
doing
that
it?
was, county will print.
County's
This is
done it,
Dutchess
right?
County Printing.
Yeah.
We've been working with Director Rich Mayfield, who's our new County Central Services Director, and he's been doing a great job, and actually personally came down to pick up the flash drive from us here.
Yeah.
And,
Well, they've always been extremely
yes, Lori
supportive. and,
Hungerford,
you know, we've
Hungerford
had,
is also great.
you know, maximize their ability to staple, you know, by the number of pages. We can't exceed it. So I think, as we discussed a little bit last time, Joey came up with, you know, really a much better approach as we look at the QR codes and, you know, some ways to actually increase more information in there. And then when it comes to the recreation activities, because we have the website and those do change, then we're just, you know, putting the code there to access that, so we don't have all those pages. Instead, we substituted other information.
Yes, that's
Well, I think
So
they're,
I think it's ready to go.
You guys did a great job on them.
Thank
They look fantastic, and it's a great asset for the town.
Everybody likes them.
Thank you.
Yeah, they
You
do.
guys, again,
Very nice.
helpful.
yeah.
Thank you.
I carry mine with me.
So I guess, I don't think we had a formal resolution proposed, but do we have a motion from the day? What was the number again?
The
for
exact number is
$2,815.
$2,815 for
So
the
I'll
14.
move, authorize the supervisor to enter into the agreement with Dutchess County OCIS, I assume it is, right?
Yes, that's correct.
To print the 2022 town guide, 1,400 guides at $2,815.
Second.
Second.
Okay, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
folks.
Joey.
Thanks, Joe.
Jessica, it's your turn.
Those will be done before Community Day, right?
Yeah, very, very shortly. All right, good, very short.
All right, so I'm just here to kind of report in on what's been going on in recreation since the beginning of the year and what we have on the horizon. We have some very exciting things, but I wanted to start with our summer camp program. Our summer camp program is at an attendance or a registration level that we have not seen in a decade. Not a huge jump, but we're over 140 kids, which is a huge jump over last year. We had only 114. So it's really great to see these increases in numbers. Now, we had a wait list this year, and for the very first time, we were unable to get through our wait list due to staffing shortage issues. It's something that's actually going on nationwide at a lot of these recreational facilities. Pools aren't opening, camps aren't opening, things like that. So the fact that we were able to get in more kids than we've had in a long time, even with this staffing shortage, was fantastic. So they're already halfway through the season, which is crazy. The summer is just flying. So this is the first year that we've done some split age programming. It was a experiment that we were doing for this year. We believe it's going to go very well. We have an age range of 5-year-olds to 13-year-olds. So the age and interests that go along with that are very different. So with our field trip programming and things, we are doing some that are more appropriate for the younger kids, while allowing the older kids to get out and do things that would interest them. So we're really excited to see how that goes this year. The other program that we had this spring was our gymnastics program. Again, more kids than ever. We had over 150 kids. That is, most people don't realize that that program is actually bigger than summer camp. It's a once a week program, 2 hours, things like that, but it is renowned, in fact. It's, you don't get gymnastics for the price and the quality that we provide really anywhere else. So that's always been one of the most popular programs, and we seek to grow it every single year, which we were able to do this year. All right, so the other is, and this will put a smile on the supervisor's face, we are having on August 20th, we're gonna have a bluegrass event where we have 4 bands that are coming and playing through an entire day. It's 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Carnwath, up on the hill. So one of our bluegrass bands has nicknamed it, and I'm stealing his name, which is Bluegrass on the Hudson. It's really going to be the first of its kind up there at that property. And it's going to be food, and it's going to be music. So in terms of expenses for an event that's all day long, the expenses are actually pretty low, and we do have the funding for it in our budget already. So the Hudson Valley Bluegrass Association and the performers associated with that, they are thrilled that we're going to be doing this, because we don't really have, there's a lot of them upstate, further upstate than us. But this would be kind of the only full-day bluegrass event going on
In this
around, yeah, in this area. Any questions on that one?
Actually, I gotta just admit to this. I was.
Yes, truly his
you know,
idea. I will
gotta-
tell you.
Believe it or not, I got a brain fart watching Kindergarten Cop.
That is correct.
And I immediately text her and I said, hey, can we put together a bluegrass fest? I love bluegrass anyway, but can we put together, don't ask me how it came out of that, you know, but they did have a bluegrass festival in it, so she was annoyed that.
Not
I
at
texted her.
all.
Well, the real question is why you're watching, why were you watching Kindergarten Cop? That's the
It's
real-
one of his favorites. I'll out.
Grandchildren.
Not a tumor.
You're not yet to that point.
No, I thought you were watching it by yourself.
The movies you're gonna have to watch, Bill.
Trust me, I enjoy Puppy Pals every day.
There you go. This was a very interesting text to get from the supervisor on a Saturday, and he goes, "I
Random.
swear it will make sense when we meet." And it did, and it's going to be really nice. They have a very built-in kind of following and community. The bluegrass community is just that. They are in touch with each other. They have their contacts. They have their fans. And that has that kind of built-in audience for something that I had no idea really up until recently had such a big audience.
You have staff
in
for
this
this?
area.
For that amount of time?
Yes, so really the majority of the staffing is going to be dedicated to parking. With music and the food obviously, the food vendors will be taking care of their own. The setup and takedown for this is perfect. Bluegrass is a very small setup, okay? So they're actually going to be performing under 10 by 20 tents. We don't have to rent a stage, we don't have to rent a floor, we don't even have to rent a tent, we have them. So we're doing this setup in a what we have on hand kind of situation. A generator, we have, things like that. Originally, I thought we might have to rent a generator, but speaking with these bands, the level of power that they need, they're almost entirely acoustic instruments. So it's just really the sound amplification. So to be able to do this is going to be really exciting, and hopefully it's the first of at least 20 years worth of these, and we'll get the name out about it.
Is this, to our residents, is it a free event, or is it per?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what we discussed.
Yeah, we envisioned it at being a free event, and it's not just for residents. So
Okay.
it is anybody who wants to come. It's going to be a very in and out kind of event. I mean, whoever loves bluegrass enough to stay there from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., fantastic. I hope they have a great time.
And Joey, I thought that maybe we could do something special at the Sports
Yeah.
Museum that day and, you know, take advantage of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but most likely you're going to have someone coming to see their favorite band, stick around, have some food. It's a pretty low-maintenance launch for an event, which those are really the best kind of things to be adding to a schedule on the fly, those things that you can do and you can do them right now. So I'm very excited for this and for the
Thank you.
supervisor's
No,
idea,
no.
idea on
So-
that one.
No, absolutely. I appreciated taking that idea and going with it.
All right. So some great news in terms of our programming. A lot of our programs went offline during COVID. And the majority of the reason behind that was our programs were hosted at the school. So for a long time, obviously, the school district was not allowing outside use. And when they did begin outside use, it was outside use with a mask. And we have kids playing sports, we have adults doing aerobics. There wasn't a huge comfort level with doing intense physical activity. Indoors, we all know school gyms are always hot, doesn't matter what time of year it is. And so those programs still stayed offline. However, when they removed the mask mandate in schools, it also removed it for outside users. Didn't come at the best time for us. It came pretty much during the off-season for everything that we do. We do an indoor soccer program that we make sure is happening when outdoor soccer is not happening. So gymnastics was the first program we were able to get in the schools, mask-free, for the children. So in the fall, we're gonna have coming back our indoor basketball program, our indoor soccer program, and our aerobics program that have been off since COVID. We made attempts to hold them outside during COVID, and the first time we did it, the registrations were high. It's July outside, and an interest gauge in doing it again, they really wanted to wait until we could get back in the schools. All right, so exciting to see that those things are finally coming back, because there was that gap in them and people have been asking for them, so we're very excited to get back onto that. Then we have our Community Day event, Carnival. We liked the name, people liked the vibe of that, so we're gonna stick with that going forward. Obviously, you all know, because we executed the contract a while ago, that the rides are secured. The parade and the vendor registration is steady. It's always slow. For the first stretch of time, people are not always the fastest of getting forms back, but they're coming in, they're steady. One of the things that I know that I've discussed with some of you outside of board meetings is the increase in prices for certain things. The primary one being our fireworks display, the cost of which has doubled. Their prices have gone up. They have to translate that down to us, just like in nearly any other industry. Now, we have a person who manufactures fireworks, does fireworks displays, and they're located right in the town of Wappinger, right down the street from Councilwoman Bettina. So we love to go with them. So when they tell us that their prices have doubled, I trust that that is completely accurate.
So, 1 second on that, Jessica. When you talk to Frank, if anybody saw the July 4th display at East Fishkill, they paid $8,000. So you can tell Frank we would like that display.
Okay. All right.
I'm sure he'll understand.
Yes.
Okay. All
I
right.
deal with him again on my own, as you know.
Yes.
So he's,
He's very receptive.
yes.
Got it.
Okay.
I might have you conferenced in on that
I
phone
will.
call.
Glad.
So-
You can have all of us
All-
conference
There you
in on
go.
that.
So then there's no
All right.
need to conference, just say everybody will conference.
There you go. So in terms of other costs going up for the event, most of those are centralized around fuel-dependent aspects of the event. So generators attached to light towers. The county very helpfully has provided some to us in the past. We found some spots where we really need to backfill and have additional lighting where we're going to have to rent our own. The counties were great for the safety of crossing over the intersection, the darkly lit parking areas, but there are some pretty dark spots we discovered in that park where the ambient lighting of all of the things going on didn't necessarily brighten things up as much as we thought it would. So we're definitely going to have that additional lighting. Generators for certain things that we're doing, we try to do that as little as possible, but we're dealing with an event that covers the entirety of that park. So the electricity that's out there is not necessarily going to be able to support all of those different things going on in all of those different areas of the park. And the third would be, we had a lot of requests to have a shuttle. Okay, a lot of people did not love parking on the side of the road. They actually would have preferred to park in one of our auxiliary parking lots at the firehouse, down, they really shouldn't park down at Laird all, but we're trying to work on allowing
Or the
that
field
to
that's
happen.
been offered. and-
Yeah, the field on the corner of Old Myers and Myers.
What's the condition of the field itself? I know it depends on the weather, but last year we couldn't use 3/4 of it. It was
Yeah.
a swamp.
The field looks good. I was just there Thursday night.
Is it?
We haven't had any rain though, really.
Yeah, it's gonna come down to the fall rains.
Good
It's
idea.
gonna,
Yeah.
it's gonna come down to those fall rains, and I've been working with the engineering firm to try to come up with a couple of different solutions for it, including gravel pads. I know that Wilson has been working.
Yeah, we asked to
Yeah.
check into that.
With the Carnival Company. I don't know, Tim, if you have any updates on that yet. Okay.
I just saw the one where Wilson was trying to connect with somebody.
I think he
Yes.
has now, so.
They did get back to him. They did get back to him. They're in the middle of their prime season, so they're not always the easiest people to get a hold of when,
And they're not tech savvy, they don't have
Yes.
computers, cell phones, or anything.
yes.
Who's that?
They're
The
carnies.
Carnies?
They're carnies.
The
Great
Carnival
folks.
employees,
Yeah, that's it.
everybody.
But they're on the road a lot.
What's the
Yeah.
date of the
They don't
event?
have connections.
It is Columbus Day weekend again, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And we're laying it out very similarly to how we did last time. Bonfire Friday night. On Friday night, the only vendors that we're having are food vendors. Because with the bonfire, this is what we found to be a really big kind of obstacle last year. The bonfire was great, and it attracted a lot of people. But the safety zone required to have the bonfire ate into a lot of that vendor space. And what folks were looking for when they got out of work at the end of the day and went to a carnival, they were looking for dinner. So really focusing on those food vendors on Friday night, and then having all of the community booths, craft vendors, and things like that going Saturday, Sunday, and Monday is going to allow us to even bring in more food vendors who are interested, because we'll be able to make better use of that space. So Saturday parade, Sunday fireworks, Monday is cool down day. We have live entertainment that day, we have the vendors there, but the main attractions, the bonfire, the parade, the fireworks, are gonna be spread out across those first 3 days. And you really do need one kind of anchor event for each of the days that were operational. All right,
And we'll continue, the Mid-Hudson Islamic Association has again volunteered the parking
Parking,
at their
yeah.
area, and that's, much appreciated, actually. They're gonna be, I think it's gonna be before the planning board too, to have some additional item for, put
Yeah.
down on the ground for space. That will
and
help
that
us
is
to-
surprisingly, I'll explain, but it's surprisingly a really great spot for handicap parking. And you wouldn't think that because it's up at the top of a hill, but we have staff that are stationed, one at the driveway to the mosque and one at Schlott House. So if we ever need to spare somebody, we've got a golf cart and we can help those people, and it's much closer than some of the other things. Now, if we are gonna do the shuttle bus this year, which I am planning on, that then also does open up to have handicap accessible parking in many more areas that are available to us. Because we'll be taking you car to event.
Plus, we're also trying to deal with, our good friends at Meadowbrook, have been continuously concerned about
Yes.
the impact on one of their most important sales weekends. So if we eliminate any parking in that area and then have the sheriff's deputies just monitor it so it's only going in
them.
for temporary parking,
Yeah.
that will help Meadowbrook significantly
And-
on their sales.
And something that I had discussed with them is the prime pickup and drop-off point is going to be right in front of Meadowbrook. So anyone who's thinking, I'm not gonna haul a whole bushel of apples or a bunch of pumpkins from here to there, you're getting
pick 'em
picked up right at that entrance. So we're hoping that that helps support them, that gives good accessibility for us, and it'll help us better use those far-flung parking lots instead of having so much parking
Exactly.
on the side of the road. So, do we have any Community Day questions?
I just think we have to be real careful with people crossing streets. And I have reservations about people crossing Myers Corners Road near the Hackensack Fire Station and then crossing again All Angels Hill Road. We're doing this in October now. It's
Yeah.
getting darker earlier than 3 weeks prior, or 4 weeks prior. We have to be very careful with how we're moving folks that are coming to this event
Yeah.
from point A to point B. I'm
And
not
hope-
sure if a shuttle bus is the answer. And I also don't think we can legally tell people they can't park on Old Myers Corners Road just because we want to try to preserve parking for Meadowbrook. I get that, we're trying to be good neighbors, but I don't think we have the ability, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, to say you can't park there.
Well, you can say you can't park there. The question is, I don't know if you could. I don't
Enforce it?
No, you could say, you could make it no parking.
Right, but then we can't say you can't park there if you're coming to Community Day, but you can park there if you're going to Meadowbrook.
Yeah, well, what you could do is you could limit it to a certain amount of time. You could say 15-minute parking.
Yeah, who's enforcing this?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Also-
Nobody.
Yeah.
We've had requests from the fire department also to try to limit some of that on-street parking on Old Myers, because it's difficult, as you would imagine, to get the fire truck down through there. If anything were to happen in one of the, actually, I think there's one road off of
Right, you have to be able
Old
to
Myers.
access it.
Didn't you have the sheriff's officer help you out last time with
Yeah.
people crossing the street? So, I mean,
Yeah.
that certainly is gonna help.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think,
we-
as you
good
said
point,
earlier,
yeah.
one of the keys is lighting.
Yes.
We've got a vendor, United Rentals, who has access to whatever you
Yes.
need. They're a huge supplier, so.
I've reached out to them. They are working on getting us a couple. There's a lot of road work going on right now in a lot of places. And the same people that we would be renting from are the same people that the state rents from for a lot of their public works projects. So I love United Rentals. They're great to work with. They're very reliable. I might have to branch out past that.
Sure.
Just for an availability standpoint.
So for the roadways where people are crossing, I may have 4 light towers available. Contact my office. We can reserve those because that's for public safety.
Exactly.
Okay? Unfortunately cannot provide light towers
Yes.
for lighting up areas of the
Sure,
park.
sure.
And that's kind of what we went through last year. The light towers that were loaned to us from the county were used for that purpose. There were just some kind of dark zones as you entered into the park at the intersection, because the one pole light doesn't work there. And when something is really, really bright behind you, you actually, it's almost darker on that side of the park with all of the light going on the
Yeah.
other side. So that's really where we're looking to do those lighting rentals. But
The other thing I can do is I may have 2 VMS boards, those variable message signs.
They
that we
were
can
great
put-
last time.
Again, they need to be for public, I can't advertise the event, but we can put up that, expect delays,
Right.
Community Day
Yes.
this weekend, something
Yep.
that has to be for public safety purposes. But
Correct.
just shoot an
But
email
that's
to my
important.
office. We can see if
Yep.
we can reserve those for this event, so they're there for public safety purposes.
I think last year what we also put on them, Bill, was the road closures
Yeah.
and things like
Oh,
that
for the
for the
parade, yeah.
parade. Yeah. So those were very helpful last year too. We always appreciate all of the support that the county gives us. All right, the final kind of update in recreation, it's more of a senior center update, but we're all together. So, oh, okay. So since the beginning of the year, we have actually had 30 new members of various levels of participation. So some of them who their primary focus is coming to physical activities, our Zumba class. Grace can attest, our Zumba class is hopping. And we actually added a second day of the week to it because the first was full and had a waiting list. And if you've ever been here during the day during one of our classes, they get moving. It's fantastic. So we've had these 30 members that have joined, and then we've had an additional about 15 that have rejoined. So these are people who were former members. When COVID ended, the restrictions in the senior center, they were still a little leery about coming back. So we have those folks who are now feeling more comfortable coming into the senior center. So we kind of call them our rejoiners, those people that we haven't seen in 2 years, but they're excited to come back. I'm sure you've seen the planters outside that the garden club have done. We've been getting so many compliments on those. They look great. It was a lot of hard work. I'll drive past here on a Saturday and I will see garden club folks out there watering and doing things like that. So it just, it's added a lot to that side of the building. So we've also, in addition to, the wonderful addition of the garden club and things like that, we have our new senior center assistant, Donna, who hit the ground running the second she came in and has been doing her best to kind of add new things to the program. So she has implemented a couple of different game days. She was actually one of the advocates of adding the second Zumba class day. She has added in additional, our seniors love a good lunch. It is one of their favorite things. So she's added in a couple of those, and then we're trying to have these initiatives to get you in the door, okay? Because once we get you in the door, we're gonna hook you. So she's been doing things like mystery days, where you don't know what's happening, so you gotta come and find out. And those have been very popular as they've been getting rolling. So those have been pretty exciting. And then something else that we've been doing that has had an overwhelming response is reaching out to, we have cards that we ordered, I actually ordered them a year or two ago, that just say, hello there, we haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing? Reach out to us. And we have gotten a lot of people who have come back in because they notice that we notice that they haven't been with us. So we've had a lot of people, even if they just call, we've had people who've called in and said, like, I got your card, thank you very much, here's what's going on, I really can't make it in anymore, but, thank you for thinking of us. And, but we have had several people who have come back to us just because we made their absence noticeable to them. We know you're not here and we'd like to see you again. So that is about all I have. Do we have any questions?
I just have a comment. You have your concerts at Shalat House, and
Yes.
I heard it was great. It was a great turnout.
Yes.
Just two comments is a food truck and an ice cream truck.
Okay,
If you could reach out, that was a great idea.
I was actually expecting Councilman Beal to bring that up because he was there on Thursday. So there is one barrier to that, which is what I'd like to bring up, which was a long time ago, in my early recreation director days, there were discussions about these food trucks, ice cream truck, things like that, being at the concerts. And the barrier was that to do that, they needed to apply for a Town of Wappinger peddler's license through the clerk's office. Is it still $250, Joe? 200, okay. So $200 to apply for this permit. So you're taking a chance. If you're spending $200 on a peddler's permit, you're taking a chance. So when we have other events where we are inviting specific people in to vend at these events, we don't require this. But it was the determination of the board many years ago that it was required for the concerts. We got into discussions down to whether they had 2 wheels or 4 wheels in the park. It was intense. So I think that we have now this understanding of the need for those things to be at the park with the crowds that we're getting now. So I think there needs to be a consideration of allowing us to follow the model that we follow with our other events, where they just have to provide us their Board of Health certificate and not necessarily apply for this larger permit to vend in the town, to have them at the event.
Well, I was there. There were 200 people there sitting around looking for food and drink.
Yep.
I mean, it's insane to me. It just blows my mind. I went to the Village concert the week before. There were 10 people there, and there was a hot dog truck and an ice cream truck. So I don't understand why or where this even came from. If it's a peddler permit type thing, that's another whole issue. I mean, if you
Yes.
read about our peddler permit requirements,
It's intense.
number one, I believe you have to be a veteran in order to have a peddler's permit here. And no offense to veterans, but
There's a fee waiver for veterans.
well, no, in order to be in a position,
Yeah,
that
we've
that
been
position
through that.
by
Hot dogs.
Adams,
Then
yeah.
the-
In order to
yeah,
have
on the
any
side of the
geographic
street,
location in
except
the town, it's
Yeah.
insane to me. I don't understand, I still don't understand why it's even written that way, because I've had folks that have food trucks that say they cannot operate in our town. And the reason why, according to Barbara Bertie, is because geographically, there's nowhere within the code that they can sit, which, to me, if it were up to me, I'd do Food Truck Wednesdays and line them up all the way down the road in front of Adams,
Yeah.
for 4 hours, every one of them, all the way from one end to the other.
Yes.
That's how you do things. The fact that we have a concert here and we can't have a food truck because there's some loophole in the peddler law, as far as I'm concerned, we should be able to select the food truck of the week. Give all the food trucks an opportunity to apply and say, hey, we're gonna choose one food truck each time. It's gotta be that food truck, we're doing tacos tonight, whatever, right? Or we're doing a different type of food. We should give the Parks and Recreation Department the ability to choose one food truck and one ice cream truck to be in attendance at our concerts, as long as they have Board of Health permits.
Concerts and movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever events we
Well, whenever the
decide.
residents are
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So the residents can,
Well, I want to clean it up a little bit, but the point is, I mean, I'm walking around at this thing. Bosco and the Storm was
They're
incredible.
great.
I mean, they were doing a great job. It was a perfect night to be there, and people were pulling me aside going, what am I supposed to do to get something to eat that's not Girl Scout cookies? Because that's the only thing that was for sale at the event was Girl Scout cookies.
Yep.
I wish I knew.
And I did buy a box.
I was gonna say, they have been making a killing. So very happy to
I mean, they
support
got the
them.
market share, so Jim, where do we stand with this?
So here's the restrictions on peddling and soliciting. It's chapter 175 of the code. Then it says pursuant to VTL, no licensee shall occupy any part of a county or state highway in any manner for the purpose of peddling or soliciting, except for a veteran's licensee. No license.
Hold on, say that again. So,
It's the
no
fee.
one else can have a peddler's permit and sell unless they are a veteran, is that correct?
Yes.
And that appears to be required by.
I don't understand that, no offense to,
I could
Required
swear it
by
was
New
just a
York State
fee waiver.
Vehicle
No,
and
I think
Traffic
waiver.
Law.
right, but
the
I
code
know,
came up with
no, I
Adams,
think it's the
isn't it?
fee is waived.
Isn't that what the issue is of that?
no, it says you have to be a veteran, that individual
But
is a.
isn't
Wait,
hiring a vendor to be at one of our town events, isn't that separate than somebody pulling over on the side of the road.
Yeah, it is.
Setting up a
And,
hot
and
dog
this
stand.
is where,
Should be,
back
yeah.
in the day, we got in the two-wheel versus the
Yeah.
four-wheel.
So I think we
So,
make a
yeah.
motion, Bill, just to allow the recreation department to look
To-
at
to
that
operate
event,
it as
not with
we-
the rest of the
yeah,
peddlers, but
as we-
town
yeah.
park.
Right, they're not soliciting,
They're
they're
not
being,
soliciting.
they're being invited. So I'll make a
Right.
motion that we authorize the Parks and Recreation Department to select one food vendor per event, okay, to be present, as long as they meet all local requirements with the health department, to be present at that.
One food vendor, one ice cream truck.
Right.
Correct.
Yes,
I second that motion.
Sorry.
thank you.
And then, once we have the motion in the second, Jim will tell me how that's illegal.
So, there is a second.
You know,
Jim,
it's-
comment?
Well.
Can we do that?
You know what? It was always very strange to me
You
that
don't
for
think
some
we are the
reason this
law.
was considered separate from the way
what they
we
keep telling
operate
us.
with
Yeah,
food
no,
vendors
again, you know,
at
the-
other events.
So,
So my only concern is limiting
Yeah.
it to one.
Yeah, I
And
was
how
thinking
you-
maybe
how
more
you
than
act-
one.
I mean, typically, if you were gonna
It's crowd
do a
control.
Yeah, I mean,
franchisee,
yeah, but if
you would
you
have a
have
request for
200 people, you
proposal
only
to
have one
solicit
food thing?
multiple vendors. But what you could do theoretically is establish a list of vendors for different events.
Well, you must have a list already, right? So,
she does.
so you can pick
So
that
I think
list.
Bill was saying to let the
Just
recreation
rotate
director
it.
choose it, and you can rotate it through,
Yeah.
right? You
whatever
do
I'm
the Thai
in the mood
food one
for
night,
that week.
tacos, the hamburgers, I don't know.
they have to
Pizza,
So-
something.
So we have a motion and second.
So,
All in
so,
favor?
so wait,
All in favor?
wait.
Come
So,
on.
so
We
what
can
about,
still
what,
discuss.
you're gonna do this free, you're gonna give them, charge them a fee, $25, $50, whatever you normally
Let's work out the
charge?
details later.
I,
What do you charge for community then?
What do you charge? Yeah,
25.
25?
Yeah, 25.
Just
So charge them
25 bucks.
$25, because you can't charge them a lot, otherwise they don't make any money, they won't come.
Right, just
That's her
$25 an event.
Don't forget
They
the
won't
ice
come
cream.
with.
But
What was
get,
that?
Ice cream.
Yes.
Okay,
but
but you
get,
need,
get some nominal fee, whether it's $25 or whatever it is, so that,
Is for community day do we require insurances?
Not insurances, but Board of Health
Board of
permits.
Health.
And
Yeah.
Right.
when they do their Board of Health permits, I believe they have to
You
submit
have to
certain
get a,
insurance.
you
You
have
have
to
to.
show
To the
insurance to
county.
get a Board of Health permit.
Yeah.
and you need to have the Board of Health
Yes.
thing to do any
By
food
default.
service.
Yep.
But,
And
Yeah, the
I
only- my
believe
only
even
concern
down
is
to
workers'
workman's
comp.
comp. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
you
think.
can't get a Board of
yeah.
Health permit without it.
yeah.
'Cause
But I
even-
think if you have over 200 people plus, I think having more than one food truck is important.
Yeah, but the problem
Right?
is there's not a lot of
Right?
space. The issue is, at this event the other day,
Yeah.
you would have room for one food truck
Yeah.
and one ice cream. That's it.
That's
And
it?
and
Really?
the problem
Yeah,
is that if you don't have a regimented process here, you can't have 10 food trucks show up at our concert. That's not gonna happen. And plus, last Thursday night, there was no parking. You would have to have arrangements where they get in there before, an
Yeah.
hour before.
Right, absolutely, set up and everything
get
else.
positioned. And I
Sure.
would put them on the right side, on the tree line, on the right
Yep.
side of the,
So, but before the debate that had happened, kind of back in the day where then it was stopped, that was exactly what we did. Bill, we had someone who came in, we told them they had to be there by 6 o'clock. They were parked over there, exactly where you're saying. And, they did well,
So, let me just reiterate the motion to clean it up here a little bit, okay? I'm making a motion to authorize the Parks and Recreation Department to choose a food vendor and an ice cream vendor for each town-sanctioned event, okay? To establish rules that must be followed by those vendors, which would be how, when you show up, where you're gonna go, and to develop a fee schedule that's consistent with the requirements for Community Day.
Second.
perfect.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none,
Counselor,
motion passed.
is that all right?
Yeah, no, that's fine. The only,
He always waits till we're done to say,
no, the only thing I would have added that, which you said, there's a location within the park. Because
Right.
the peddlers and soliciting license refers to public
street,
streets.
right. It's
Right.
in the park.
The roads.
It's not on the curb
Yes.
line. It's in, you know where I'm talking about.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
I know we're going here for a while, but with respect to the concerts, previously we had a buildings and grounds person, this is years ago,
Yes.
pre-COVID, if we can remember that. We had given the recreation director the ability to to work with Steve to hire a buildings and grounds person to assist. When you have 200 people coming into an event like that, it can't just be Jessica trying to do traffic control. That was craziness. Not to mention the picnic tables were on the dance floor. So we, I had a couple civilians residents assist with moving them off so that people could dance. And this all was happening at the same time. Cars are coming in, and I really feel more comfortable if one other person can be assisting Jessica, because we're not always gonna have a town official there.
No.
And if something happens, Jessica should not be by herself.
Don't you have staff?
It's always it's a really solid 1 hour worth of intensity, and then on either side of it, it's a pretty mellow evening, so
But
I've been
God
making
forbid
it work,
something
you know.
happens, Jessica.
So how long are the concerts typically?
2.
2 hours?
2 hours,
So why don't you have more, I feel more comfortable having more than one
Me too.
person. I think at least 2 or 3 are probably better
God
suited.
forbid, right. If
Well,
God
if-
forbid something
And-
happens,
Really
Jessica.
And oh, by the way,
Wait.
based
We
on the
need-
fees you're gonna collect, you're gonna get some of the money back anyway. So
Right, but
let's
then
just make sure we do it right.
getting those people could be a challenge also. I mean, I would say,
do.
if we authorize at least one person to assist,
Yeah.
You
up,
have staff.
up to whatever,
Yeah.
up to 2 or 3, but I think it's gonna be more realistic to say, you have to have somebody else working with you.
So a minimum of 1 person up
Right.
to, say, 3.
Yeah, 1 to 3 people.
And have them sign up.
I just don't wanna see you, because, I was watching for a minute there, and, it gets kind of crazy with people coming in all at the same time. And you really should have somebody there helping you.
And I know your mom and dad help out too, but they're really
They
not,
can't,
You-
they really,
My thing is,
They're helping,
They're
so we
they're
appreciate
after
that,
dark
but they're-
security. They're the ones who come around
No,
like
it's-
But
8:45
Jessica-
to make sure I'm not alone.
but it'd be
but
better if you had.
Jessica, you
Yes.
have staff.
Yes.
Your staff should be able to sign up for this.
Yep.
And assign them, this is part of your job. You need to sign up to this and you need to be there.
Yes.
So I think
Okay.
you got the sense of the board, so
Yes.
we'll make sure that this is done and, done
It is help that I
Thank you.
appreciate, so thank you.
And my one last pet peeve is the Christmas
Oh.
lights. I'm sorry, I understand we've had this debate 27 times about how it's easier to leave them up. It makes the town look sloppy. I'm sorry. We cannot have the Christmas lights up in July unless we're a Hallmark movie, okay? Because Christmas in July is going on at my house, by the way.
Yeah, it is the season, yes.
The DVR is full of Christmas movies. But the point is, at a town park, we should not have the Christmas tree with lights on it. I don't subscribe to the idea that it's easier to leave them up. Just don't drive by my house. Right now.
Bill and I had the white lights are for ambiance
Okay.
debate the other night. It
So can we
was,
take them down? I mean, we have to take the Christmas lights down.
Contracted already.
What's that?
The job is contracted.
already.
So,
Yeah, but what's contracted? I don't understand.
Before December.
The tree is 30 feet high.
I'm going to step aside. I am
Right,
set.
I understand the tree's 30 feet high, but what does that mean? I don't know what that means.
I had to hire someone with a bucket truck to come and take the lights off. It's less expensive to do that than to hire the lift to come in to do it.
So you're saying that there's somebody contracted to take the Christmas lights down in the month of
Right.
July?
The vendor, the contractor I had been using became ill.
Okay.
And it took me a little time to find a replacement for him. And that is contracted, been trying, he went on vacation to Aruba. And, I'm trying to get in contact with him, find out when it's gonna be done. I contracted this about a month ago.
Okay. All right.
but they're still up on the stage though, too. You're leaving them there permanently too?
No, I mean, I've said this before. We've had Christmas lights on the monument, we've had Christmas lights on the tree, we've had Christmas lights on the stage. I just don't like that. I don't think that looks good on the town. I don't think it's a good look, and they should come down. I understand some people like Christmas lights up all year round. I don't think that's a good look. But that's just 20% of the town board.
No, it's probably the whole town board. It's the whole town board.
I'm not the Grinch.
Uh-oh.
Like you said, don't go by his house and look at the lights. Okay, let's move on.
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm going to take the 9-element plan because of the time and put it on August, it's, and then I can talk with each of you separately about it, but that's too important to cover now because we have some resolutions.
What does WIC stand for again?
Wappinger Intermunicipal, Council. It's the
creek, right?
Wappinger Creek.
It is the creek.
Watershed Intermunicipal Council.
All right, I thought it was the creek, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, I can't say it 3 times, but that's the official title first. Okay,
Thank you.
so we'll come back to it. Okay, so then we have resolutions. Resolution 2022-121, resolution acknowledging appointment of deputy town clerk and setting the salary. Joe, would you just give us a quick overview?
Yeah, the applicant was, or is, my employee, Lori McConnell, I believe was the neighbor of,
Yes,
Al's,
I know her.
today. And, yeah, we interviewed a number of people and we selected her.
All right, so we're just acknowledging the authority of the town clerk. I'll move.
I'll second it.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion passed. L, 2022-122, resolution amending contract for annual maintenance contract for Rockingham. Do we want to do that at this
Yeah,
point
so-
in light of our discussion?
Yeah, so I'll move this, and this one's one we talked about before. It's the $742, it's $371 for an extra treatment in July and August, and I think it's needed, and so I make a motion to approve.
Second. Okay, motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Resolution 2022-123, this is for the pressure wash. Do I have a motion to table?
I'll make a motion to table it.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions?
So the only thing I request on that one is, Steve, you get back to us, or Tim, if you can get back to us, pretty quickly so we can move on this thing, because the work does need to be done.
Yes.
So we just got to find it, can we do it less expensive than 10,000? So if you can get back to us.
Yeah, as
next-
soon as possible, then
Email
we'll.
vendor, copy Steve, and
Okay.
Councilman Bill's question, one of our engineers said about $100,000 to resurface.
All of them,
Whoa,
How much?
100,000.
and that's for 10 years
10,000
probably.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah, for the life
Yeah,
of 10.
Life, yeah.
That's off the cuff, we'll see. what
Okay,
the other guys say.
Yeah.
okay.
But it's still going to
But we'll do
involve
that.
maintenance. They're going to have to be maintained.
Right.
Yeah.
It's gotta get maintained, yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you. Resolution 2022-124, acknowledgement of the correspondence log. I have a motion.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion to pass. New business, special consideration before executive session, I have one item. Today, Joey and I met with Michael Karopian. He's the artist sculptor for the 8-foot Ninum statue on Route 52 in Fishkill. And he came in here, and he is, very willing, although he has other requests, but to, sell to us and to deliver to us the 4-foot-high version of that, plus a 2-foot base. Actually, it's 2 feet high, 3 feet wide, and 2 feet deep. Nothing special with that. We would have other costs eventually. But this is, and he's proposing $75,000 in 3 installments of $25,000. This would, if we were to do it, be, we would choose, and we would discuss later on where to put it, but would be like phase 2 of recognizing our native indigenous peoples. It would take him, a year or less. He would finish molds. It would be in clay by September, and the molds in the winter. We would have a chance to talk with him, but if we don't, he has a couple other locations that want it, and I think this is something that we should be doing. And I think it's $75,000 over the course of a year. It would be three installments, is what he said, and then we can decide where, what else to do, how to recognize our indigenous Native Americans. The towns of East Fishkill and Fishkill and the school superintendent's office are all very supportive of doing this as we try to bring more recognition to our Native Americans. So I think for him, he's really wants to do it with us, but he does have others that are pounding on his door. So I recommend we do that, and he'll have a basic agreement, a simple one for us to execute. But if you're all in agreement, I hate to wait till August because there is a short fuse on this.
Is it the same sculpture?
Yes. But he's recasting it in the sense that he has to do the mold of, everything the wax and all that, to do it. It would be the bronze, statue, and then would be a nice display. Actually, he did the foundation, but then if we want to do something more, some other theme, or, we can, plaque, like what they did at Fishkill, that would be additional, but he would take care of the basic foundation. And, we could probably get our highway department, somebody to go and take care of that,
So they would do the maintenance on it?
What we would, then have to do the maintenance, make sure we had that, or Steve can do the maintenance.
No different than what we do at
Al Schlothouse.
No, I'm just thinking of the 100-plus projects he's got on the list, and more he's got to pick up.
Yeah.
So the 75,000 includes the base also?
Yes, yes.
We do have a year time from the point of commitment to determine where the site would be, have discussions with the community, so on and so forth. This was something that came up from a number of town board members saying, we are the town of Wappinger. We are named after this indigenous tribe that was from this area. So we were just doing some investigation, some lead work to see what it would take to have the statue here.
And I approached him again at the Town of Fishkill, event, and, got him to say that he'd give us the priority over it.
Any chance of getting grant money for it from the county?
That would be really good.
We have done similar projects to this in the town. We have our Town of Wappinger War Memorial out at Schlott House Park. We have the Sergeant Mark C. Palmetier 9/11 Memorial Park. Both of those sculptures and those parks, they had funds raised by the community. They were not grant funded. They were not gifted. You will notice that there is a long list of people on the back of the Schlott House Monument, as well as a perpetual care agreement with the Rotary Club of Wappingers Falls. Councilman Beal can go into the list of people who contributed for Sergeant Mark C. Palmetier Park. Again, it would be part of a much greater vision and a much greater park location that is yet to be chosen. At the end of the day, we can go out and seek donations and support from the community. But at this time, I believe the supervisor is asking for some sort of commitment to move forward in some way, shape, or form to secure the statue.
I think it's a very good idea, but in these financial times right now, I think this is something we need to put out to the community and see what their support would be and if they would be willing to donate it. There's a lot of problems right now with the cost of gas, food, and people remaining in their homes. And I think it's a great idea, but I just think timing is a little off at this point.
Do you have an initial idea of where you envision this? I mean, just.
Well, we've discussed
Any
a
idea?
number of, locations of, including with him, and I think that it can range from, we're looking at, down along, Creek Road, the park, there's also, a possibility of land that's gonna be donated in Houstonville. We have Carnwath, we have, Joey has put in a request for the triangle of land, to the, basically south and west of the New Hamburg, bridge. So, but I think, what we wanted to do is that can then be tailored based on putting together a group, because we do have a year, time to determine that. If, this is, yes, sudden, because of the fact that he came today and he has other requests. So, if we want to miss the opportunity, then I think that will be, sad.
Yeah, I don't want to miss the opportunity. However, I also don't want to spend tax dollars. And this was my position on Sergeant Palmetier Memorial. Also, the War Memorial at Schlott House was paid for not using tax dollars. I am not against considering Parkland Trust funding for a portion of this as a down payment or as a portion of the expense. However, I think that the lion's share of this needs to come from
Donations.
support, I'll just say.
Yeah.
Whether it be grant funding, or whether it be individual, or both. I think it's important when we've done these parks and we've done these memorials in the past, we've always been conscientious of, the monument being funded either by supporters, and then the infrastructure being supported by either Parkland Trust or tax dollars. But it has to be, you have to be able to justify the method that you're doing it, right? So I think we have a unique opportunity here to do something that should have been done previously. But we just have to, as Councilwoman Bettina said, keep in mind, tax dollars are, sacred, especially right now with this economy.
And Councilman, if I can add and put on my county legislator hat, I had mentioned the other locations in town to point out that this is how it's been done in the past. I was not saying that we needed to
No, yeah, no, it's
contribute
good that you-
Catawapanger tax dollars.
No, it's good that you pointed that out, and
Yeah, no, that has, I agree.
I think from an arts and culture perspective, the county's grant opportunities, there's got to be something from a county perspective. There's also got to be something from whether it be Mid-Hudson Arts or whether it be, other funding sources for indigenous peoples that can help with this as well. I just think that we do need to, put this in a direction here. We don't want to lose this opportunity. I'm sure that the town of Kent, I'm sure, is interested.
Absolutely.
The Bronx is probably interested, right? I mean, look at the history of.
Well, I don't think we have any time, Bill.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but we don't have the time. So,
Do we say go ahead and use Parkland Trust as the down payment and then pursue all these avenues?
yeah, well,
Problem is we come up-
that's what our idea was.
If you
and
come up
especially
short, then where's the rest of the money gonna come
then,
from?
Yeah, if you come up short, then we're committed, because we're gonna have to sign for the total amount.
At this point right now, I think we have to be very careful. I think it's a wonderful idea. It is something that should have happened. There's a lot of things that should have happened, but they haven't. And I think for the future, it would be a good thing to have. But right now, I think the timing couldn't be worse.
I like Councilman Beal's idea about using some money out of Parkland Trust to fund some of it.
Sure.
But the rest of it's got to come in donations, contributions, et cetera. I just
If
don't know we're going to get
Right.
that extra money if we commit whatever the number is,
And if
20,
there's a
25.
benefit, somebody out there that wants to donate this for the town, who's listening on TV, by all means, contact us at this point, because I think everybody would enjoy having that. But.
And the height of this one is 4 feet, right?
Correct.
How high is the base?
2 feet, so it'd be a 6-foot-tall
So it'd be
statue.
6 feet.
Okay, and just in contrast to the town of
Sergeant
Fishkill,
Department.
in contrast to town of Fishkill, how
How
tall?
big is theirs?
Theirs is 8 feet tall.
8 plus the base, right?
Right.
Yeah.
8
Yeah,
plus
yeah,
the base.
Right. And I mean, to be fair, the town of Fishkill has had a monument in place, or a stone in place with a plaque for
Right, years.
Daniel Ninham for decades.
100 years.
Because,
that long,
let's not
100 years?
forget that the town of Fishkill, we were part of the town of Fishkill, okay, until 1875, right? So, that said, if we were looking at going with the 8-foot option, does that exist or
No.
no? I see what he's only doing, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That size is done there. He's only gonna do one.
Which he's already started, and
Oh, okay, so nobody else is gonna get, where I'm going with this is somebody else gonna get a 4-foot one also if
No.
we do this?
They're gonna have them
All right,
small ones.
so these are one of a kind.
right.
The one at Mizzier Homestead, the small one,
Yeah.
that's more affordable. But, that's only 6 inches tall, so we
It's
need.
sad.
so-
It's very sad. I
so
wish we.
We need some sort of a consensus at this point. I mean, I'll make a motion that we authorize 25,000 out of Parkland Trust to start this project.
I'll second that, but
And I'll tell you this, that said, this is for the purpose of starting this project. It should be our goal to be able to fully fund this project.
Oh, I agree.
Okay?
I don't disagree.
Using either grant funding or using corporate support or personal
They're out there.
donations. But in an effort to seize the moment and not use tax dollars, I will stand by that motion to start this project.
So I guess that would be like a deposit,
Yes.
perhaps, right?
Well, if it's gonna take them a year to make it, right?
Well, but, yeah, it's,
Subject to reimbursement from donations. and
Yeah.
free
Yes.
Right,
So, worst case scenario, if we don't come up with the money, he has other people that are
Yeah, and
willing
we
to
lose
buy
it.
it.
Well, I think what's gonna,
Well, no, because
That's
this is.
the worst case.
This has got to be unique, right? Because
Yes.
it's.
this is one of a
de minimis,
kind, so.
It's a one of a kind, so you can't,
But
somebody else is
other-
not going to take it.
But other people want.
yeah, Kent, for example. Yeah.
No, but
Right, they want the
I think what
Indian.
she's saying is if we don't, tonight, if we decide that, no, we're not interested right now, the town of Kent, which I know
We'll
has
jump
had
on
these
it.
conversations, will buy the 4-foot one, and that option
Right.
won't exist.
But they haven't started it yet, they've, right? So once you start it,
Well,
right,
now,
you put 25,000 into it, and you
then
say
they-
yes, then
right.
you can't back out of it, because nobody else is going to buy it, because
right,
it's unique
nobody else,
design.
it becomes, it's
Ours.
ours. We own it at that point.
Right, so the point is, how are you going to fund the other 50,000? You think you're going to get 50,000 in donations and
I
outside?
don't know.
Well, I can't give you that answer right now, but, but what I will say is, this will give us some time and opportunity to explore these other options that I think exist out there.
There are corporate sponsors out there that would be interested, hopefully, and they'll step up. So I think that's the way we have to go. I cannot.
I mean, there's a
I do
lot of
not-
work that has to be done here because
Right.
you have to identify geographically where this is gonna go, right? I know there are parts of this town where it would be probably more appropriate than others based on
Mhm.
history, which we can evaluate. You know, there's gonna have to be, a lot of other discussions about this.
Right.
But I think the point the supervisor's trying to make is that this project, is a one-of-a-kind project. The sculptor, who we've had, challenges in the past 5 years with communicating with, was not available to do this, and now he is making himself available to create this. So tax dollars, in my opinion, is not the way to go. Parkland Trust is there for the purposes of, you know, park expenses. I think this can be applicable. Jim, correct me if I'm wrong.
It's a capital improvement.
So, that said, that's, my motion is to allocate that portion to get the project started.
And I'll second as long as we realize that we could be on the hook for the additional $50,000. So we just got to make sure where we're there, so we got work to do.
Well, I'll explore with him, you know, the concept of giving a non-refundable deposit of 25,000, and then we would say that within, I don't know, 45, 60 days, we have to raise the money, because he's not gonna hold it, you know,
Right.
forever, right? He has other projects he's doing, so I think he, you know, can manage it, like
Right.
he's doing
So
something in
if we get-
Marist and so forth, but.
So we can get that clause in there that says that, you know,
But
whatever it is, 45 or
whatever
60.
agreement we have, you know, then Jim and I can work on that particular language. I know exactly what you want. And then, you know, just authorize me to go execute it with that in mind, you know. And I think, Jim, we can, it's,
Yep.
will
But
be
you
probably a
underst-
one-page agreement, you know, to go do it.
But you understand what we're looking for, correct?
Yes.
No tax dollars to go to this.
Except, well, I mean,
The
25, I
Parkland
get it, it's out of
Fund.
Parkland Trust.
But as
But-
Bill said, we
The
want to try to
Parkland
reimburse
Fund-
that as well.
I understand
you know,
that,
through
but
donation. So there's a motion.
Second.
Al,
I second it.
Second, all in favor with those stipulations?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions?
I also think something should
Seeing
be out
none,
on
the motion
I
passed.
think something should be out on the website, asking for the residents'
Yeah, well-
input on this.
Yeah, in a
And see how
perfect
they
world,
feel.
if we could have the sculptor come to a future meeting and give us an
Sure.
actual presentation.
Sure.
That would be
Yeah.
the right thing to do, and I think that would also get it out there for the public to get the buy-in.
Exactly.
And we need input from the residents too,
Yes.
on where would be the most appropriate place for this to be.
Right.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Okay.
Okay, I'll, you know, reach out to him and tell him what we'd like to do. But I think, you know, based on the discussions I've had, he'd be excited about coming. He's preparing different materials, including video and all that, so he would probably be able to show that as well to us. And I was thinking that if he's available, maybe get him here in August, which then helps play into kind of the promotion, you know,
That's
of
fine.
doing this, okay? So, okay, thank you. Any other new business?
I just have a couple
Sure.
of questions for Steve. That would be you. So, since we have one of the garden club people here, when are we going to have the water spouts all set to go so that they can get water so they don't have to carry buckets?
Very close. The pipes are in place. We've got this line. I have to get a drill bit to drill through the concrete, and then it's...
We've been trying to find a drill bit.
Okay. How your bridge is doing over at Airport Drive?
Nearly finished.
Okay, you're going to have to step up, so, because I was out there today, I didn't see the
it's
step
been
up.
taken care of.
Okay. How about the nets? Are we getting any closer with the nets over at Marksfield for
They're on
the,
order. When they arrive, we'll put them up.
They're on that boat.
Excuse me?
They're on that boat.
yeah, the boat that's still coming?
Yeah.
And last one is really for more the supervisor here. Wi-Fi at Robinson, any luck with Altice Optima?
I'm still waiting for him to get back. He was supposed to have the people sent out. He
Steve.
said that this week, or, that he
At
hoped
the
to get back to me.
park.
So
Okay,
The phone.
thank you.
Does that work?
And I'm good with you. I just got one for Tim now. My bid's for Robinson Lane.
Friday.
All right.
Friday, 10 a.m.
What do
So
we?
we're gonna do the fences, so, we wanna make sure we get that 3 bids in there so we can go ahead and approve that. Okay, thank you.
What do we have to do to get that phone working out there?
No, I've contacted Altice, and they are investigating that, through Optimum.
Right.
I have senior vice president.
Optimum is the only source, and they are unresponsive.
No, now they're responsive to me,
All right.
and so,
Thank you.
That's why I asked him, because I know he's working on it.
Optimum.
yes, yeah. Yeah, no, telephone, yeah,
But they've already told me
they can't do it.
can't reach that park.
Yeah. Okay, anything else for Steve? Anything else, period? Okay, motion for executive session. We have employment matter that Steve needs to address with us, and town rental issue. Try to keep that short.
Make the
Second.
motion.
Okay, motion, second, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed. Thank you.